Welcome to Mystic Realms Recap. Please like, share, and subscribe. Enjoy today's episode.
A nascent soul martial artist, how formidable. The old man's imposing manner descended upon Li Qing, pressing down until Li Qing's body trembled and his face turned pale. But Li Qing still grit his teeth and persevered. How could this little bit of pain compare to the humiliation that Duanling Tian and Lian had inflicted upon him? Not bad. Second level of the core formation stage, and able to withstand my imposing manner head-on and not take a step back. Moreover, not considering natural talent, just this unyieldingness is extremely hard to come by. What's your name? The old man glanced deeply at Li Qing. I'm called Blood Enmity, 1. According to the plan in his heart, Li Qing made up a name. From today onwards, he would be Li Qing no more. Instead, he was Blood Enmity. Blood enmity. He would use this to remind himself that he carried with him a bloodthirsty enmity. Blood enmity. I'm the third son of the Swallow Mountain County's county governor, Pei San. You really know who cut off my arm? The youth that sat at the head seat looked down towards Li Qing in a condescending manner. Although his arm had been connected with great difficulty, it no longer possessed the nimbleness of before, and it was even unable to execute martial skills. Such a blow caused these few days to feel like years to him. Living wasn't better off than dying. He wished he could immediately uncover the assailant and dish out a capital punishment to him. Li Qing looked at Pei San as he asked, "Third young master, if I'm not wrong, the person that cut off your arm, the speed of his sword was extremely fast, swift as lightning. The sword entered its sheath almost immediately after attacking. Was it like this? Who is he?" Pei San's eyes shone and his face was flushed from agitation. As long as you tell me who he is, no matter whether it's 10,000 gold, a group of beautiful women, medicinal pills, spirit weapons, cultivation techniques, or martial skills, I can bestow them all upon you. Third young master, I don't want all of these things. Li Qing shook his head slowly. Then what do you want? Pei San suppressed the agitation in his heart, and his expression turned grim. I want to follow beside the third young master and return to the county city together. As long as my cultivation breaks through to the origin core stage, I will undoubtedly personally tell the third young master who was the person who cut off his arm and where he is from. Li Qing's gaze flickered as he stared fixedly at Pei San. What a nice scheme you have there. You see that I'm desperate to seek revenge, so you believe that I would spare no efforts in assisting you to step into the origin core stage, right? Pei San's face turned cold as he saw through Li Qing's intentions. Li Qing kept silent. This was exactly his plan. As far as he was concerned, as long as he followed beside this county governor's son, with his full support, he would certainly be able to step into the origin core stage within the shortest time possible. In Swallow Mountain County, the strongest power was none other than the county governor's estate. If he had the full support of the country governor's estate, stepping into the origin core stage was only a matter of time. At that time, he would return to the Li clan and cruelly murder Lian. As for Duanling Tian, he would shame him violently and torture him for a while before handing him over to be dealt with by Pei San. Impudent. The old man's gaze turned cold. Since you know the identity of my young master, then you should know the methods of our county governor's estate. If you don't speak, I'll kill you right now. You can kill me, but then your young master can forget about finding the assailant to take revenge in his lifetime. Facing the old man's imposing manner, Li Qing had a calm expression and was fearless. Do you really think I won't dare to kill you? The old man walked forward. A palm strike with immense force and radiating origin energy slapped onto Li Qing, blasting Li Qing away. Li Qing crashed onto the floor and continuously spat out a few mouthfuls of blood, but the corners of his mouth still had a smile. I really am sure that you won't dare kill me. The old man's face sunk, and he looked towards Pei San. Very good, very good. Pei San smiled out of extreme anger and said to the young girl beside him, Sister Ru, arrange for people to take him to heal his injuries. Yes, third brother. The young girl replied before going to arrange it. A few moments later, only Pei San and his servant remained. Young master, you're really going to take him back to the county city? The old man frowned. Grandpa Huai, when dealing with desperate people like blood enmity, even if you interrogate him under torture, it will still be impossible to make him talk. Instead of that, why not make use of this opportunity and take him back to the county city? Once we've returned to the county city, we can investigate his background. If we can find the assailant through this, then he won't be of any more use to me. If we can't find the assailant, then we follow his wishes. Once he steps into the origin core stage and uncovers the assailant for me, that day will be the day he loses his life. Pei San's eyes flickered with a cold light as he spoke of his plans. He was the dignified son of the county governor of Swallow Mountain County. How could he tolerate being threatened? In his heart, Li Qing was already a dead man. Young master is wise. The old man nodded. This was indeed the best method. Aurora City, Li Clan Estate. In a room within a large courtyard. Behind the screen, a completely naked youth stood up from within the bath barrel. On his body, a defensive chi barrier raged like a gust of strong winds whistling by. Greater teleportation has finally been cultivated to the mastery stage. The youth's face emitted a satisfied smile as he walked out of the bath barrel and put on a set of dry clothes before walking out of the room. Spirit Serpent Movement Technique. As soon as he entered the courtyard, the youth's figure started flashing about as if he had transformed into an agile spirit serpent, incomparably swift. In an instant, he wound around the large tree, rapidly rising to the top. In the next instant, he flashed onto the ground, extremely agile. Hiss hiss. On the trunk of the large tree, one white and one black, two little pythons watched the youth's figure flashing about. Their sharp eyes emitted a sense of meekness and infatuation. Abruptly, the youth stopped and stood there before taking a step forward. Dragon's finishing touch. In a blink of an eye, the youth's hands danced about like the wind, either forming a fist or forming a palm. As his origin energy whistled, it was difficult to distinguish which movement was the true attack. Whoosh! Just after his thousands of movements, a finger attack condensed from origin energy was instantly shot out. A piercing, whistling sound sounded through the air and descended upon a stone pillar. Bang! Immediately, the stone pillar exploded from the point of impact, causing stone chips to swirl out into the air. As expected of the offensive martial skill that matches the Nine Dragons War Sovereign Technique's Raging Python forms mental cultivation method. This dragon's finishing touch, in terms of might, is even stronger than Li Qing's Dark Netherfinger and not one bit inferior to Xiao Yu's Sleeve Dimension. As Duan Ling Tian stood with his hands behind his back, a smile appeared on his face. The dragon's finishing touch stressed upon the usage of a howling flurry of fists and palms to disrupt the opponent's field of vision, as if painting a dragon that didn't have the final touches to make it lifelike. Lastly, a finger attack with an extremely formidable might to directly attack the vital points of the opponent was used. This act was like the finishing touch to the drawing. Thus, this martial skill was named Dragon's Finishing Touch by Rebirth Martial Emperor. Dragon's Finishing Touch includes the high-grade profound rank martial skill, Cloud-Piercing Finger, that Rebirth Martial Emperor cultivated during his second lifetime. Since I've merged with the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, I have thus inherited Rebirth Martial Emperor's comprehension towards the Cloud-Piercing Finger. In those years, Rebirth Martial Emperor's Cloud-Piercing Finger was cultivated to the perfection stage. As such, I only used half a month's time to cultivate the Dragon's Finishing Touch, which surpassed the Cloud-Piercing Finger to the mastery stage. Duan Ling Tian smiled in satisfaction. Now the might of the Dragon's Finishing Touch completely surpassed the might of the form and Will Boxing's Collapsing Fist, which he was the most skilled at. At present, it was once month after the youth gathering was held. Currently, the three high-grade profound rank martial skills that I cultivate, Dragon's Finishing Touch, Greater Teleportation, and Spirit Serpent's Movement Technique, have all stepped into the mastery stage, but among them, I've only felt the threshold to the perfection stage for Dragon's Finishing Touch. After thinking up to this point, Duan Ling Tian started to cultivate the Dragon's Finishing Touch even more painstakingly. Striking when the iron was hot would certainly result in a miraculous effect. Duan Ling Tian, you really are hardworking. No wonder you have such a shocking cultivation at such a young age. Just at this moment, a hearty laughter sounded from outside the courtyard. Duan Ling Tian looked towards the source of the sound. What he saw was a figure walking into the courtyard. The figure was precisely Lin Qi. Duan Ling Tian welcomed Lin Qi into the courtyard and asked curiously, "To what do I owe the pleasure?" Duan Ling Tian, a few days ago, our Lin clan welcomed a guest from Amidst City's He clan. Among them was the He clan's #1 disciple in the younger generation. At the beginning, everything was fine, but after he won in a spar against my big brother, he started boasting without restraint, saying that there were no worthy figures in the younger generation of our Aurora city. Afterwards, he even arrogantly established an arena at the north area of the city and is currently challenging all of the younger generation martial artists of Aurora City. Even Meng Quan was defeated by him. Lin Qi proclaimed the reason he had come. "I came here today because I hoped you would help teach him a lesson and let him know that no matter how great he may be, there will always be someone greater." Could it be that even Xiao Yu wasn't a match for him? Duan Ling Tian was stunned. Lin Qi laughed bitterly. "Xiao Yu left half a month ago to go afar and visit some relatives. Let's go." Duan Ling Tian nodded and left the Li clan estate with Lin Qi. If he had just accidentally heard of this matter, he wouldn't care about it, nor would he fight for the sake of the so-called honor of Aurora City. The reason he was going was out of his friendship with Lin Qi. Upon arriving at the north area of the city, Duan Ling Tian saw a simple martial arts combat arena. Presently, the arena was fully surrounded by people. Among them were many Li clan youth martial artists. Duan Ling Tian. Before long, many people recognized Duan Ling Tian and their gazes shined brightly. Duan Ling Tian has arrived. He can certainly defeat that guy from Amidst City's He clan. That's for sure. This guy from the He clan sees the opportunity that our Aurora cities, Xiao Yu wasn't around and is so arrogant. Now that Duan Ling Tian is here, I want to see how he continues to be arrogant. Duan Ling Tian, I support you. F****KM up. The surrounding crowd was incomparably fervent, causing Duan Ling Tian to feel slightly overwhelmed. Suddenly, Duan Ling Tian noticed that on the martial arts combat arena, a person was blasted flying from the arena, hurtling down towards him. Li Zhong. When Duan Ling Tian recognized the youth that was hurtled down, he lifted his hand and caught onto the youth's shoulder, allowing him to firmly descend onto the ground. Li Zhong was in a slightly sorry state. When he saw that the person who saved him was Duan Ling Tian, his gaze was complicated. After taking in a deep breath, Li Zhong sincerely said, "Thank you." Duan Ling Tian lightly nodded and patted Li Zhong's shoulder. "You're okay, right?" "I'm fine." Li Zhong shook his head. At this moment, a blue-clothed youth on the combat arena looked at Duan Ling Tian and asked in a scornful manner, "You're Duan Ling Tian?" The youth genius ranked at the top of this year's Aurora City's Hidden Dragon list, but Duan Ling Tian, however, ignored him. "You." The blue-clothed youth got angry from embarrassment. Duan Ling Tian, I, Amidst City's He clan's He Jun, formally challenge you. Do you dare to accept the challenge? Do you dare to accept the challenge? The surrounding crowd had their gazes all descend upon Duan Ling Tian. Humph. Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed. Then he stomped his legs on the ground and used the force to fly up onto the martial arts combat arena. Duan Ling Tian, fight. Duan Ling Tian, show him what you've got. Duan Ling Tian, I love you. Ah. Chi. He Jun-sized up Duan Ling Tian for a moment before he sneered. Is there no one else in Aurora City? A 16-year-old little kid is capable of being placed in the top of the Hidden Dragon list? Idiot. So what if he's 16? Say that again if you can defeat Duan Ling Tian. Yeah, if you're unable to even take a single move from Duan Ling Tian, that would really be an extreme disgrace. Bystanders in the crowd ridiculed him. Hee-jun's face turned grim instantly. Looks like they're very confident in you. Hee-jun glanced at Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian still did not reply. It was as if he hadn't heard Hee-jun speak at all. Kid, I'm talking to you. Hee-jun had a grim expression. This was the first time he was ignored by someone in this way. Although they haven't fought, their states of mind are already on different levels. Duanling Tian is worthy of being the first in the hidden dragon list, as he's able to be unfazed no matter what. Yeah, unlike this Jun, who's getting so flustered and exasperated. In terms of bearings, he isn't even on the same level as Duanling Tian. Not on the same level? You're thinking too highly of him. I think he's miles away from Duanling Tian. Hearing the crowd's ridicule, Jun's expression got uglier as time passed by. I'll see how long you can continue acting for. Jun was enraged. His body jerked like a rock, spreading its wings as he flew towards Duanling Tian. 3 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. This Jun was obviously a martial artist at the second level of the core formation stage. Whoosh! Seeing Jun flying out towards him, Duanling Tian's eyes narrowed. No wonder Jun was able to defeat even Lin Zhua. He did really have some ability. Jun's movement technique was similar to his, also a high-grade profound rank movement technique at the mastery stage. See how I blast you flying with a single punch. Jun bellowed. His fist seemed like a launched cannonball as it whistled through the air and blasted towards Duanling Tian. From start till finish, Duanling Tian stood on the spot, unmoved like a mountain. Even when Jun arrived in front of him, Duanling Tian still had a tranquil expression. Eventually, under the gazes of everyone present, Duanling Tian made his move. Dragons! Duanling Tian's hands danced about, suffused with origin energy. In the eyes of everyone in the surroundings, including Jun's, Duanling Tian's hands' movements weren't random. They seemed to be following some sort of profound trail. Break for me! Jun's gaze turned cold and his fist exerted force like a landslide as it smashed towards the palm and fist silhouettes that appeared from Duanling Tian's hand movements. Before long, his expression distorted. He noticed that his fist had actually hit nothing but air, and it didn't touch a hair on Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian's eyes focused. Above him, 3 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. Finishing touch. Duanling Tian's finger strike flashed out. As it penetrated through the flurry of fist and palm silhouettes, an ear-splitting howl sounded. His finger touched upon Jun's fist, instantly shattering his defensive chi barrier. Ah! Jun emitted a shrill cry as his body flew out, crashing onto the ground in an incomparably sorry state. His left hand tightly clasped the right as soon as he noticed that one of his finger bones had cracked apart and a heart-wrenching pain caused his body to start trembling. Only after hastily consuming a grade 8 gold injury pill did Jun look at Duanling Tian with an expression of dread. This 16-year-old youth was no different than a demon to him. Too terrifying. Duanling Tian is so strong. Allegedly, when Duanling Tian defeated Xiaoyu, he used the strength of 4 ancient mammoths. Today, he instead only used the strength of 3 ancient mammoths to defeat this Jun. Duanling Tian obviously held back. This Jun probably can't even defeat Xiaoyu. The #1 martial artist in the younger generation of Aqua Mist City is merely so mediocre. The crowd was in an uproar. You should keep a low profile and not establish arenas everywhere when you don't have any ability. Duanling Tian paid no attention to Jun. Under the gazes that were filled with veneration and adoration, Duanling Tian jumped off the arena and swung a kick at one of the support pillars on the side of the arena. Bang! Immediately, the martial arts combat arena collapsed with a loud crash, burying Jun within. Jun crawled out in a sorry state with a face full of dirt, looking like a refugee. Ha 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 ha. Instantly, the crowd burst into a wave of laughter. Amongst the laughter, Jun's expression turned ugly and he swiftly fled. Ha ha, Duanling Tian nice? Lin Shi arrived beside Duanling Tian and gave him a big thumbs up, as if he was even more excited than if it was himself who beat Jun. Duanling Tian. Meanwhile, 2 more people arrived beside Duanling Tian. Li Zhong, Li Xiao. Is something the matter? Duanling Tian looked at Li Zhong as he questioned. Hurry up and say it. Li Zhong glared at Li Xiao as he scolded him. Li Xiao's body trembled as he looked at Duanling Tian in terror. Duanling Tian, I apologize for what I did in the past. I hope you can forgive me. Louder. Haven't you eaten? Li Zhong grunted coldly towards his little brother. He didn't care about his little brother's feelings at all. It's fine. Just let the past matters vanish into the void now. Duan Ling Tian waved his hand and smiled. This Li Zhong's character wasn't bad. Recalling the conflict between the two of them, it was all because of his little brother, Li Xiao. Slap. Li Zhong swung his palm onto Li Xiao's head. What are you daydreaming for? Hurry up and say thank you. Thank you, thank you. Li Xiao had a bitter smile on his face as he hastily thanked Duan Ling Tian. Duan Ling Tian indifferently swept Li Xiao with his gaze before walking away with Lin Qi. The crowd automatically opened up a path. The gazes that descended upon Duan Ling Tian from the surroundings were all filled with veneration. After watching Duan Ling Tian and Lin Qi's figures disappear in the distance, only then did everyone present come back to their senses. Too formidable. He annihilated Aqua Mist cities, he clans He-jun with just a single move. As expected of the young genius who defeated Xiaoyu to be placed in the top of the Hidden Dragon list. Duan Ling Tian is only 16. I'm certain that the first ranked in the Hidden Dragon list for the next 2 years will undoubtedly be him. Nonsense, even I can be certain of that. In a restaurant, Duan Ling Tian and Lin Qi sat facing each other. Duan Ling Tian originally intended to return home but was forced by Lin Qi to come here, his reason being having something to discuss with him. What do you want to discuss, even coming to a restaurant? So solemn. Couldn't you have just told me on the way? Duan Ling Tian looked at Lin Qi. Duan Ling Tian, what's your plan? Lin Qi went straight to the point. What plan? Duan Ling Tian was dazed. What I'm asking you is, what are your plans for the future? Lin Qi smiled wryly. I don't know for now. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and his heart slightly jerked. Hearing Lin Qi speak about this, Duan Ling Tian couldn't help himself from thinking about the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp he had heard of the other day. The exact date of the Genius Camp test was 5 months from now. Lin Qi continued, Duan Ling Tian, even though you're a member of the Li clan, you're a disciple with another surname after all. In the Li clan, you'll become an elder at most. You're destined to have no fate with the patriarch's seat. Can't you just say what you want to say and stop beating around the bust? Duan Ling Tian derided. Then I'll be frank. Lin Qi took a deep breath before slowly saying, half a month ago, my aunt made a trip back here and heard about you from me. She's very interested in you. After hearing what he said, Duan Ling Tian's face trembled and the food that he hadn't swallowed yet was spat all over Lin Qi's face. F***K. Lin Qi, although I'm not against being together with a slightly older woman, I'm really not suitable to be together with a cougar. Ask your aunt to look for someone else, Duan Ling Tian said in all seriousness. Lin Qi was dumbstruck. Coming back to his senses, Lin Qi wiped off the food that was spat on his face before deriding. Can you steep thinking of everything in that way? My aunt's been married for years. Even her son is over 10 years old. Wasn't it you who said your aunt was interested in me? Duan Ling Tian was slightly speechless. Was it he who overthought things? She's interested in your natural talent and comprehension ability. Lin Qi rolled his eyes at Duan Ling Tian. Say it earlier. Duan Ling Tian shook his head and continued to eat. He was like a whirlwind sweeping away everything on the plate. My aunt is the person in charge of the Violet Tulip Trading Company's branch in Swallow Mountain County, Lin Qi said. So what? Duan Ling Tian asked as he ate. You've heard of the Violet Tulip Trading Company, right? Lin Qi looked at Duan Ling Tian as if he was looking at an alien. When he saw Duan Ling Tian shake his head, he was utterly speechless. This guy's really ill-informed. The Violet Tulip Trading Company is one of the 3 great trading companies in the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Its properties can be found all over 6 counties out of the 18 counties in Crimson Sky Kingdom, and Swallow Mountain County is one of them. Lin Qi explained. Wait, you said the Violet Tulip Trading Company occupies 6 out of the 18 counties of Crimson Sky Kingdom, and your aunt is the person in charge of one of the counties? Yes. Lin Qi had a face full of pride. Even though my aunt's natural talent in the martial Dao is average, she is really business-minded. She was already thought highly of by the president of the Violet Tulip Trading Company in her early years, and she advanced step by step to obtain her current position. This restaurant that we're eating in is one of the properties of the Violet Tulip Trading Company. Besides that, the properties of the Violet Tulip Trading Company can be said to have a finger in every pie, to the extent that it can be found even in remote, small towns. As long as it has the prefix of Agarwood, Golden Adonis, or Violet Caltrop, they are all properties belonging to the Violet Tulip Trading Company. Lin Shi continued to speak of the Violet Tulip Trading Company with great familiarity. Agarwood. Duan Ling Tian suddenly realized that the Agarwood restaurant in Fresh Breeze Town turned out to be a property of the Violet Tulip Trading Company. I'm not interested in conducting business. Duan Ling Tian shook his head. Who's asking you to conduct business? Lin Shi angrily said, my aunt took an interest in you because she highly regards your natural talent in the martial Tao and your comprehension ability. While the Violet Tulip Trading Company is rich enough to rival a kingdom, it naturally has many people who are watching it secretly and are looking for an opportunity. Therefore, the Violet Tulip Trading Company has fostered many powerhouses to be in charge of protecting the trading company's properties. My uncle is precisely the guard commander of the Violet Tulip Trading Company in Swallow Mountain County, and he is a void stage powerhouse. Even the county governor of Swallow Mountain County is respectful when dealing with my uncle. Lin Shi finished saying this within a single breath. Your aunt wants to make me a guard for the Violet Tulip Trading Company? Duan Ling Tian had a weird gaze. My aunt said that as long as you're willing to join the Violet Tulip Trading Company, the Violet Tulip Trading Company will spare no effort in fostering you. In the future, you will even have the opportunity to take over my uncle's position and become the guard commander of the Violet Tulip Trading Company in Swallow Mountain County. Lin Shi looked at Duan Ling Tian with a face full of envy and jealousy. In other words, once I join the Violet Tulip Trading Company, even if I stay there till I die, I will only be a head bodyguard? Duan Ling Tian had eaten his fill and put down his cutlery. Head bodyguard? Lin Shi didn't understand what Duan Ling Tian had said. Means the same as guard commander. Duan Ling Tian explained. Do you even know what the guard commander of the Violet Tulip Trading Company represents? Li Qin was slightly exasperated. What does it represent? Duan Ling Tian was slightly curious. There were only a total of 7 guard commanders in the entire Violet Tulip Trading Company, and every single guard commander is a void stage powerhouse. While they guard the Violet Tulip Trading Company, they also obtain the various resources of the Violet Tulip Trading Company, such as Grade 7 medicinal pills, Grade 7 spirit weapons, and a wealth that they and their families can't spend within their lifetime. Lin Shi was slightly agitated as he spoke. Are you finished? That's all? Duan Ling Tian asked. That's all? Noticing Duan Ling Tian's unperturbed expression that seemed like he wasn't one bit concerned made Li Qi unable to help himself from glaring. Don't you realize that all of these things aren't something you can get from being a Li clan elder for your entire life? What, even this doesn't attract you? Tell your aunt I'm not interested. Duan Ling Tian shrugged with a light smile. You really plan to be a Li clan elder for the rest of your life? Lin Shi was astounded. Who said I want to be a Li clan elder? Duan Ling Tian shook his head as he slowly walked away, only leaving behind a single sentence to Lin Shi. My ambitions aren't within the boundaries of the Crimson Sky Kingdom. Ambitions not within the boundaries of Crimson Sky Kingdom? Li Qin was dumbfounded. He dreamt occasionally, and in those dreams he would always see himself becoming the guard commander of the Violet Tulip Trading Company, or the county governor of one of the 18 counties in Crimson Sky Kingdom before laughing himself awake. As far as he was concerned, these were all his wild wishes. Duan Ling Tian, however, actually said his ambitions weren't within the boundaries of the Crimson Sky Kingdom. This was an utter disregard to all the things he dreamt of. Maybe it was precisely his broad ambitions that allowed him to achieve his current cultivation level at such a young age. Compared to him, I'm virtually an ignorant fool. A bitter smile filled the corners of Lin Qi's mouth. At this moment, he seemed to have understood many things. Duan Ling Tian, however, didn't know that Lin Qi's entire life would change tremendously just because of that single sentence he spoke. Of course, This was a story for some other time. Duan Ling Tian's life gradually quieted down. His days were spent routinely cultivating the 9 Dragons War Sovereign technique, Dragon's Finishing Touch, and Spirit Serpent Movement technique, as well as concocting medicinal liquids and refining medicinal pills. In private, Duan Ling Tian flirted with Ku Er on one day and Little Fei on the other. His days passed by in a leisurely fashion. Time flew by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 months had passed. During these 3 months, Duan Ling Tian's strength had undergone earth-shaking changes. His cultivation had advanced a stage to step into the second level of the core formation stage. Furthermore, the process of tempering his body with origin energy had already been completed, and he was in the progress of charging towards the third level of the core formation stage. Dragon's Finishing Touch was officially cultivated to the perfection stage. With the assistance of large quantities of medicinal liquids concocted from blood lingji, greater teleportation also officially stepped into the perfection stage. However, Duan Ling Tian seemed to have been trapped in a bottleneck that seemed nearly impossible to break through, and thus his Spirit Serpent Movement technique had not improved after so long. As for Ku Er, her cultivation had already stepped into the third level of the core formation stage half a month ago, and she cultivated the high-grade profound rank martial skill, Freezing Sword, that supplemented the Frost God Sword technique to the mastery stage. Besides that, her defensive martial skill, Stealth Substitution, and her movement technique, Profound Rippling Steps, both had been cultivated to the perfection stage. Ku Er's natural talent in the martial Dao once again astounded Duan Ling Tian. As for Li Fei, Duan Ling Tian gave her the second spirit containment pill he refined that day and let her cultivate a new top cultivation method after dispersing her origin energy into the spirit containment pill. The cultivation method he passed on to Li Fei was called Galactic Star Technique. It was a cultivation method that was cultivated by one of Rebirth Martial Emperor's best friends, Stellar Martial Emperor. Its might was on par with Frost God Sword Technique and the Demonic Beauty Divine Technique. In terms of martial skills, Li Fei had already been cultivating high-grade profound rank martial skill since the beginning, and as such, Duan Ling Tian didn't pass anything on to her. After dispersing her origin energy and recultivating the new cultivation method, her cultivation stepped into the second level of the core formation stage and was on the verge of breaking through into the third level of the core formation stage. Duan Ling Tian had once asked his mother about her cultivation, but she would always smile it off while emitting a sense of mysteriousness, causing Duan Ling Tian to have no way of knowing. However, Duan Ling Tian was convinced that his mother's cultivation had absolutely far surpassed her previous cultivation. Duan Ling Tian sat in the courtyard as he teased the 2 little pythons on the table beside him. In the past 3 months, the 2 little pythons had swallowed down plenty of medicinal pills that Duan Ling Tian refined, allowing their strengths to improve and step into the 9th level of the core formation stage. They were now only a step away from the origin core stage. 2 little freaks. The corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth curled into a bitter smile as he looked at the 2 little pythons. Who would have thought that in Duan Ling Tian's house, the strongest wasn't him nor Ku Er, and even wasn't his mother, but instead it was these 2 variant little pythons. Half a month ago, Duan Ling Tian took the 2 little pythons deep within the misty forest as a means to probe their strength, and with great difficulty he finally found a fierce beast at the 9th level of the core formation stage that wasn't afraid of the snow python's aura that lingered on the 2 little pythons' bodies. To his surprise, however, the 2 little pythons easily penetrated the fierce beast's body and killed it. The horns on their heads utterly ignored the tough and tensile leather on the fierce beast's body. Rascal! Suddenly, a voice sounded from outside the courtyard. The hot-bodied young girl was wearing a light violet dress as she quickly walked into the courtyard before sitting opposite Duan Ling Tian. She teased the 2 little pythons as she said, "Rascal, make a trip to the misty forest with me." Why? Duan Ling Tian's gaze was utterly fixated on the young girl's well-developed pair of jade hills as he swallowed a mouthful of saliva. "Stinking rascal, what are you looking at?" Li Fei glared at Duan Ling Tian before continuing, "I just broke through and want to try out my strength on some fierce beasts." "You've broken through?" Duan Ling Tian was stupefied. "Yes." Li Fei nodded with a smile. Grandfather said that my fast progress was all thanks to the high-purity origin-increasing pills you refined, and if it was origin-increasing pills refined by ordinary alchemists, even if I cultivated the galactic star technique, I would still need another half a year before being able to break through. Of course, don't you know who I am? Duanling Tian smiled complacently. In terms of medicinal effect, my origin-increasing pill with over 90% purity is at least twice as effective as the origin-increasing pill sold in Aurora City's trade market. Under the same absorption circumstances, compared to others who consume ordinary origin-increasing pills, your cultivation speed should be twice as fast. I know you're great, egomaniac, Li Fei rebuked. She could still remember how upon learning of the medicinal effect of Duanling Tian's origin-increasing pill, her grandfather was dumbstruck for a long time before finally regaining his senses and actually swearing. That was the first time in her life that she saw her grandfather so discomposed. When she finally found out from her grandfather about what a purity of over 90% really represented, even she was shocked. According to her grandfather, an origin-increasing pill costed 5,000 silver in Aurora City's trade market. However, the origin-increasing pill Duanling Tian refined would easily be able to go over 100,000 silver for merely one pill. Ku heirs cultivating, so let's not disturb her and go ourselves, Duanling Tian said to Li Fei. After notifying his mother, Duanling Tian glanced at the two little pythons that were looking at him with anticipation and said, while glaring, "You two little guys behave yourselves and stay at home. If you dare to follow me, I'll cook the two of you in a pot of snake soup." As long as he brought the two little pythons along into the misty forest, it would be nearly impossible for him to encounter any fierce beasts. Unless it was a high-ranked fierce beast, other fierce beasts would hide the moment they noticed the aura emanating from the two little pythons. The two little pythons nodded their heads with wronged expressions, seemingly beginning to be able to understand what Duanling Tian meant. They then coiled up the large tree in the courtyard and looked on at Duanling Tian and Li Fei's disappearing figure with eager eyes. Hiss hiss. It wasn't long before they forgot their worries and were happily coiling about the large tree. Misty Forest. Duanling Tian had already come here at least 10 times, and thus was extremely familiar with it. Rascal, let's go slightly deeper in this time. Li Fei was slightly excited. Even her face was flushed. Going in deep is fine, but you must not leave my line of sight. After entering the misty forest, Duanling Tian's expression became more serious. I know. Li Fei rolled her eyes at Duanling Tian. In the beginning, it was hard for her to understand how the youth usually was fearless and did whatever he wished without restraint. But after entering Misty Forest, he would instead advance gradually and carefully. Now she had become accustomed to Duanling Tian's vigilance. She didn't know, however, that it was utterly Duanling Tian's instinct, an instinct he developed from his years of life as a member of the Special Forces and a mercenary. Once he entered Misty Forest, his nerves would be slightly tenser as he vigilantly scanned the surroundings for safety's sake. In his previous life, this instinct had saved his life not less than 10 times. Something's not right. After being in the inner area for some time, Duanling Tian and Li Fei didn't encounter not one fierce beast. Duanling Tian's expression became heavy. Whoosh, whoosh. Suddenly, two incomparably fast figures flew down from the sky and floated above Duanling Tian and Li Fei. These were two middle-aged men that seemed to be worn out from a journey. The middle-aged men wore black clothing. One of them had a stiff expression. The other middle-aged man had a hideous appearance and was emitting an evil and greedy gaze as he stared at Li Fei. Void stage martial artists. Duanling Tian's heart trembled. He was unable to comprehend why a void stage powerhouse would appear in Misty Forest. A void stage powerhouse was an existence that surpassed the nascent soul stage. Flying. People can really fly? Li Fei was dumbstruck. Although she had heard of void stage martial artists and even knew that they had the ability to control the air and fly, when she really saw it, she still couldn't help herself from being shocked. In the next moment, she noticed the lustful gaze of one of the middle-aged men, and her beautiful eyebrows frowned. Just at this moment, Duanling Tian took a step forward and stood in front of Li Fei, fearlessly looking the void stage martial artist in the eye. A mere ant dares to stop me from looking at a beauty? Humph. The void stage martial artist grunted coldly, condensing his sound into a line and blasting it into Duan Tian's ears. Instantly, Duan Tian's eardrums quaked. Pooh! Duan Tian's face turned pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood. Only a mere cold grunt was already enough to injure Duan Tian. Rascal! Li Fei's expression turned pale as she hurriedly went to support Duan Tian. I'm fine. Duan Tian took a deep breath as he continued to protect Li Fei behind him before once again looking at the void stage martial artists with a ghastly and firm gaze. You're courting death. The void stage martial artist's expression changed as the terrifying aura on his body swept out in the form of an imposing manner and pressed down upon Duan Tian. Duan Tian's gaze turned slightly cold and his body trembled as he forcefully withstood the middle-aged man's imposing manner. He didn't dare to move, or else Li Fei would surely be affected. Humph! Let me see how hard the bones of this ant is. The void stage martial artist sneered. The imposing manner that pressed down upon Duan Tian increased in intensity. The pressure on Duan Tian's body doubled, but only Duan Tian's pupils constricted before he grit his teeth and endured. His will was firm like a mountain. The void stage martial artist's gaze turned cold, and a killing intent arose within him. Just at this moment, the other void stage martial artist frowned as he said in a cold and indifferent manner, Enough, Sun Rue. Don't create unnecessary problems. If you delay our true purpose, the sect leader won't forgive you. Kid, remember that in front of me, you're just an ant. If I desired to kill you, it would be no different than killing an ant. I disdain to kill you. The void stage martial artist tried to smash Duan Tian's pride with his words. Duan Tian's body lightly trembled and his eyes emitted a ghastly brilliance, as if ready to swallow someone up. Let's go. The two void stage martial artists rose into the air before flying into the distance. Bang! In the end, Duan Tian couldn't persist any longer. He limply fell on the ground and continuously spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. The imposing manner of a void stage martial artist wasn't something that the current him could withstand. Earlier, he was forcefully withstanding it and was on the verge of collapse. Rascal, you're injured. Li Fei's face was pale and her eyes went red from anxiousness. She withdrew a grade 8 gold injury pill in a flurry and gave it to Duan Tian to consume. After consuming the medicinal pill, Duan Tian slightly recuperated. His eyes still gazed with a strong killing intent at the far-off spot that the two void stage martial artists' figures disappeared. He wasn't a person that liked to cause trouble, but if someone tried bully him, he wouldn't easily let it go. Currently, his strength was inferior. But he was still young and full of ability. That combined with the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor that he had merged with, as far as he was concerned, he would catch up sooner or later and even surpass the void stage martial artist from before. At that time, Duan Tian would make him regret his actions today. Sun Rue? I'll remember it. Duan Tian deeply committed this name to memory. This was the second person since he arrived in this world that made his heart emit a monstrous killing intent. The first was Imperial City's Duan clan's Duan Xing. Duan Tian's incomparably strong fleshly body, which could exert a force of 5 ancient mammoths, allowed him to quickly recover his injuries after consuming a grade 8 gold injury pill and absorbing its medicinal effect. At this moment, Li Fei stood at Duan Tian's side and stared fixedly at him with a gentle and affectionate gaze. Earlier, when facing the two void stage martial artists, she was extremely scared, to the extent that her legs seemed to be as heavy as lead and unable to move a single inch. At the moment she felt the most helpless, Duan Tian stood out and shielded her behind him, like a fearless guardian angel that shielded her from everything. He would rather get injured himself than allowing anyone to injure her. Her heart started trembling lightly. At this moment, she felt that this man was worthy of her entrusting her life to. Suddenly, Duan Tian's nose jerked as if he had smelled something. His gaze focused slightly as he looked into the distance before flashing over. Li Fei had a puzzled expression as she followed him. Duan Ling Tian noticed that behind the nearby bushes was a man lying on the floor, or more accurately speaking, a corpse. This was a young man with a body full of injuries, and in his hand was a jade slip. Origin energy could be vaguely seen dissipating from his body, and the injuries on his body that were temporarily patched up with origin energy started to have fresh blood that was unpleasant to the eye flow out all over the ground. And it was precisely this that allowed Duan Ling Tian to smell the scent of blood and notice him. Seeing the bloody scene, Li Fei turned her head away, and her expression turned ghastly white. This jade slip seems to be... Duan Ling Tian picked up the jade slip and, thanks to the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, recognized what it was and thus poured his origin energy into it. A voice entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. Fated One, I'm the young sect leader of Boundless Sect, Shangguan Yu. Please be sure to properly put away the jade sword in my spatial ring. If you can one day cultivate to the void initiation stage, you may head to Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom and get in touch with the owners of the other 8 jade swords. Once all 9 jade swords are gathered together, you can all head out to find the Sword Monarch's treasure. With these 8 jade swords, you will be able to open the treasure and obtain a great fortuitous gain. My boundless sect suffered complete annihilation because of this jade sword. Besides that, if you have the chance of traveling to the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, out of the fate between us when you receive my jade sword, I hope that you send the voice transmission jade slip within my spatial ring to the solitary summit and pass it to a reclusive old man by the name of Shangguan Yin. Shangguan Yu expresses his thanks. After Duan Ling Tian finished listening, a light flashed within his eyes and he was slightly excited. Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, Duan Ling Tian had heard of it. The Crimson Sky Kingdom he was currently residing in was precisely a kingdom under the rule of the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom. According to the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor, some martial monarchs and martial emperors like to place some of their treasures at certain locations, then they would put restrictions in place and distribute keys for the future generations to fight for. To them, this was a game. This sort of game was something Rebirth Martial Emperor had played on countless occasions. The treasures that Rebirth Martial Emperor originally planned to use in his 3rd lifetime are all concealed in the foreign lands and are currently unreachable to me. However, this Sword Monarch's treasure is at the Azure Forest Imperial Kingdom, a very realistic and readily available location. Duan Ling Tian inhaled deeply. An existence called Sword Monarch would undoubtedly be a martial monarch stage sword cultivator. Although the martial monarch stage was a stage inferior to the martial emperor stage, the treasures he left would certainly be extremely valuable. Duan Ling Tian removed the spatial ring from the young man's hand and dripped his blood on it to establish ownership. He was pleasantly surprised at what was inside. I didn't expect that he would also be an alchemist. By the looks of the pile of rare materials he collected, he should be a grade 7 alchemist. Not bad. These materials can save me a huge sum of money. Is this jade sword one of the keys to the Sword Monarch's treasure? And this voice transmission jade slip. Duan Ling Tian withdrew the jade slip and poured origin energy into it. A voice once again entered into Duan Ling Tian's ears. Great-grandfather, the Boundless Sect is no more. Father and all the elders all died in battle. It was the Black Fiend sect that annihilated the Boundless Sect. This voice transmission jade slip was precisely the jade slip that the young man asked Duan Ling Tian to pass to the old man in Solitary Summit. Looks like that Sun Rue is from the Black Fiend sect. Duan Ling Tian's eyes flickered as a cold light flashed through them. In his opinion, Sun Rue and the other Void Stage martial artist were undoubtedly chasing after Shangguan Yu to kill him and seize the jade sword. Rascal, what are you daydreaming about? Li Fei's voice caused Duan Ling Tian to regain his senses. The sound from the voice transmission jade slip could only be heard by the person who poured origin energy into it, and as such Li Fei wasn't aware of what had happened. Nothing. I feel he's quite pitiable. Duan Ling Tian shook his head. After a while, he started a fire and burned away the young man's corpse. Little Fei, do you want to return and rest? Such an incident caused Duan Ling Tian to be slightly worried about Li Fei. Rascal, if you're tired and want to rest, then we can head home, Li Fei said lightly. Duan Ling Tian noticed the change in attitude Li Fei had towards him. Looks like being a hero and saving the beauty would forever be the most formidable method of chasing girls. I'm fine. Let's go look ahead and see if there's any suitable fierce beasts to hunt. Duan Ling Tian and Li Fei continued to go deeper into the misty forest. During this period of time, they encountered many fierce beasts. The stronger ones were taken care of by Duan Ling Tian, only leaving some fierce beasts at the 4th level of the core formation stage, or below, for Li Fei to deal with. Li Fei enjoyed herself as she continued hunting, but unknowingly, the sky had turned dark. Looks like we will have to spend the night here, Duan Ling Tian thought in his heart. That night, the moon was bright in the starless sky. Duan Ling Tian and Li Fei leaned shoulder to shoulder on the trunk of a large tree as they gazed into the sky. Rascal, even though I had heard before that a void stage martial artist was able to control the air and fly, I only thought it was just an exaggeration. Never did I think that it was real. Li Fei's tone sounded slightly complicated. Some things aren't always groundless rumors. Duan Ling Tian lightly smiled. Weren't you afraid of the 2 void stage martial artists from today? Li Fei asked. Of course I was. Duan Ling Tian truthfully replied. A void stage martial artist could kill the current him with but a wave of his hand. If he said he wasn't afraid, that would be a lie. Li Fei gazed at Duan Ling Tian as she asked, in a light voice, then you still protected me. Isn't a man protecting a woman a principle of heaven and earth? Moreover, don't you forget, you're my fiancé, so of course I would protect you. Not to mention void stage martial artists. Even if it was a martial monarch or martial emperor, I would still protect you at the first instant. Duan Ling Tian smiled. Martial monarch? Martial emperor? Li Fei was phased, obviously having not heard of such terms before. A martial monarch is an existence that surpasses the void transformation stage powerhouses, and a martial emperor is an existence that surpasses a martial monarch, an existence at the pinnacle of Cloud Continent, Duan Ling Tian explained. How do you know all this? Li Fei was slightly surprised. I read a few books. Duan Ling Tian smiled. What a joke. He was the inheritor of the memories of Rebirth Martial Emperor. He naturally was clear of all this. You mentioned void transformation stage powerhouses. What stage is that? Li Fei felt slightly curious. Little Fei, commit this to memory. Above the nascent soul stage is the void stage. The void stage is separated into 4 stages, namely the void prying stage, the void initiation stage, the void interpretation stage, and the void transformation stage, Duan Ling Tian slowly explained. So that's how it is. Li Fei lightly nodded. Rascal, I've really underestimated you. So you actually knew so many things? Of course, don't you know who I am? Duan Ling Tian was slightly complacent. Pei, I only slightly praised you, and you're already floating. Li Fei rebuked. Little Fei. Don't call me rascal anymore. It sounds so bad. Then I'll call you scoundrel from now on. Scoundrel? Did you actually call me a scoundrel? Then I'll let you see how much of a scoundrel I am. What are you doing? I'm proving that I'm not a scoundrel, of course. Scoundrel, stop. Little Fei, I want you. No, you're not willing to give it to me? You're not allowed for these few days. That thing has arrived. F***K. After hearing this, Duan Ling Tian dispiritedly climbed off Li Fei's hot and delicate body, but of course not before stealing a good feel of it. In the end, he embraced Li Fei and fell into deep sleep. At dawn the next day, Duan Ling Tian accompanied Li Fei on her hunt for fierce beasts the entire morning. Only at noon did they leave Misty Forest and return to Aurora City. After selling away the pile of fierce beasts' fur, skin, and body parts, Duan Ling Tian asked Li Fei to head home first while he went to the medicine store to look for Tang Ying. It's good that you came. I've been wanting to go look for you these past few days. Noticing Duan Ling Tian, Tang Ying's eyes shone. The 6 treasures body tempering liquid is out of stock? No. I just concocted 2 large crocks of them for you half a month ago. Duan Ling Tian's brows slightly jerked. It isn't the six treasures body-tempering liquid, but the blood crescent inscription. Tang Ying smiled. Blood crescent inscription? I don't think Ghastly Shadow had any big movements in Aurora City lately, right? Duanling Tian had a face full of vigilance as he looked at Tang Ying. You couldn't have been selling off all the blood crescent inscriptions I inscribed for you, right? Tang Ying laughed embarrassedly. It's up to you how you deal with them, but you better not drag me into it. Duanling Tian frowned. Don't worry, I've only sold it to some of the people in charge within Ghastly Shadow. As for you, I have never once mentioned your existence, said Tang Ying. How many do you want this time? Duanling Tian knit his brows as he asked. Tang Ying pondered for a moment before speaking. 30. Duanling Tian shrugged and said indifferently, You really know how to ask for exorbitant amounts? But forget it. It's the last time I inscribe for you anyway. The last time? Tang Ying was dazed momentarily, as he was unable to understand what Duanling Tian's words meant. 1 month from now, I'll be leaving Aurora City, Duanling Tian said. 1 month from now? Tang Ying's eyes flickered as his gaze descended upon Duanling Tian. You plan to enter the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp to participate in the Paladin Academy's test? You've guessed it. Duanling Tian was slightly surprised. It really wasn't that difficult. Since you plan to leave, it would surely mean you weren't resigned to continue staying in Aurora City. With your natural talent and comprehension ability, entering Paladin Academy would undoubtedly be your best choice. Adding on the fact that you will leave in a month's time, it would surely be for the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp without a doubt. Tang Ying lightly smiled. Aren't there other tests available to enter Paladin Academy? How do you know I'm not going to participate in the other tests? Duanling Tian asked, in a questioning manner. Yes, there are other tests, but those tests are all held in the other 17 counties of the Crimson Sky Kingdom. In our Swallow Mountain County, there is only one choice. Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp, Tang Ying said. Duanling Tian suddenly understood. So that's how it is. Right, how much do you know about the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp? I heard it's very brutal inside, even to the extent of being called a place where one only has a 10% chance at survival, Duanling Tian asked curiously. The Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp is indeed brutal, but that would be towards ordinary youths. Freaks like you only need to know their place and mind their own business. As long as you don't offend the instructors there, surviving a year can be done easily. Tang Ying was extremely confident of Duanling Tian. Instructor? Could it be the officers of the Iron Blood Army? Duanling Tian was slightly curious. You're right, it's indeed those madmen from the Iron Blood Army. Tang Ying nodded. Madmen? Duanling Tian was puzzled. You'll know why I call them madmen once you're at the Genius Camp. Even Tang Ying was rather fearful when mentioning the Iron Blood Army. I actually slightly look forward to it now that you've put it that way. Duanling Tian's eyes flickered. Duanling Tian would definitely be able to rise to the peak of the Crimson Sky Kingdom no matter what path he took by relying on Rebirth Martial Emperor's lifelong memories. But Duanling Tian still chose the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp. Besides stemming from a sort of persistence from his previous life towards a military career, there was still another reason. Once he passes the test, which was the Genius Camp itself, he would be able to obtain the qualifications to study at Paladin Academy. The Paladin Academy was situated in the Imperial City. Duanling Xing was at the Imperial City as well. Duanling Tian's eyes emitted a dense killing intent as the aura on his body involuntarily swept out. Tang Ying's face was filled with shock as he felt the icy cold killing intent that was coming off Duanling Tian. This type of killing intent was something even he didn't possess. His hands had at least a few hundred lives on them after all, but even he hadn't developed such a terrifying killing intent yet. I've only felt this type of killing intent on one person before. However, how could this kid compare to that person? This kid is merely 16 years old. How could he possibly have this type of killing intent? At this moment, Tang Ying felt his scalp go numb. Even though Duanling Tian's current strength was far inferior from his, Duanling Tian was still able to make him feel a pressure that stemmed from the bottom of his heart by relying solely on his killing intent. Even in the entire ghastly shadow, there was only one person capable of making him feel such pressure by relying solely on killing intent. That person was precisely the number one assassin in Ghastly Shadow, Demon. It's time for me to go. Duan Ling Tian looked towards Tang Ying and faintly smiled. The reason he came to look for Tang Ying was to ask him about the Iron Blood Army's genius camp, and now his objective had been reached. Wait. Tang Ying, however, stopped him. Yes? Duan Ling Tian questioned. Duan Ling Tian, how about you don't go to the Iron Blood Army's genius camp, and instead let me recommend you to our Ghastly Shadows headquarters? With your natural talent combined with my recommendation, you will undoubtedly be one of the main targets of fostering within the organization, and you would soon become a trump card assassin of Ghastly Shadow. Tang Ying's eyes narrowed as he made this suggestion. As far as he was concerned, as long as Duan Ling Tian joined Ghastly Shadow, him surpassing the current number one assassin, Demon, would only be a matter of time. Duan Ling Tian shrugged as he said in a disapproving manner, "Be an assassin? Not interested. Kid, you haven't felt that sort of pleasure yet. Think about the day when even His Majesty, the Emperor of Crimson Sky Kingdom, will experience a change in expression when speaking of you. How satisfying will that feel? It would absolutely be the best spiritual indulgence. With your natural talent and comprehension ability, I'm confident it won't be long before you can become a top assassin within our Ghastly Shadow." Not interested. Duan Ling Tian shook his head. You have such an icy cold killing intent on you. You're simply born to be an assassin. Not being one would be such a waste. Tang Ying had an expression that seemed to show that he was eager due to him cherishing geniuses. Killing intent? Are you talking about this? At the moment Duan Ling Tian's voice faded, an even more terrifying killing intent swept out from his body, pressing itself onto Tang Ying. Tang Ying's face turned slightly pale as he suffused his origin energy around his body. Only then was he able to withstand the bloodthirsty killing intent that was roaring out of Duan Ling Tian's body. Tang Ying was dumbstruck. This killing extent even surpassed the Ghastly Shadow's number one assassin, Demon. Tang Ying, only now did I realize that you were actually so senseless. You concluded that I was born to be an assassin by merely relying on this? All you need to do is go kill a few more people, and you will naturally be tainted with this kind of killing intent. Duan Ling Tian glanced at Tang Ying in disdain. Kid, I'm curious, how many people have you killed to dare to be conceited in front of me, the person in charge of the Ghastly Shadows operations in Aurora City? Tang Ying was slightly angry from embarrassment. I don't remember anymore. In total, it should at least be over 10,000 people. Duan Ling Tian's gaze seemed to drift, as if drifting away into the distant past. Only when Duan Ling Tian left did Tang Ying come back to his senses. This kid really dares to talk nonsense. Over 10,000? Who would believe a little ass kid like him? Tang Ying didn't take it seriously and only thought Duan Ling Tian was bragging. But it still couldn't stop him from sighing. The Ghastly Shadow organization had lost a promising youth. After leaving the medicine store, Duan Ling Tian was slightly speechless as well. Born to be an assassin? The killing intent that stemmed from his soul was something that was accumulated from the bloodshed he experienced as a mercenary in his previous lifetime. Every time he took on an assignment, if it was an assassination, the head count on his hands would be relatively small. If he ever conducted a large-scale deal in a region and used a weapon of mass destruction, the number of casualties would at least amount to tens of people, and on occasion amount of hundreds and even thousands. Saying that he had killed more than 10,000 people was actually him holding back on the actual numbers. Duan Ling Tian noticed two people coming towards him at the moment he entered the Li clan estate. One was a youth around the age of 18, and the other was a young man over 20 years old. The youth was a familiar face, Li Yuan. As Li Yuan saw Duan Ling Tian, a trace of fear was emitted from his brows and he lowered his head. Obviously, he was afraid of Duan Ling Tian. The young man beside Li Yuan noticed his movements, then his gaze descended upon Duan Ling Tian. Little brother Yuan, who is he? You seems to be afraid of him. Brother Guang, he is Duan Ling Tian. The corners of Li Yuan's mouth were filled with a bitter smile. If it was said that he still had the confidence to battle Duanling Tian before the clan martial meet took place, then after seeing Duanling Tian defeat Li Kuang with his own two eyes, and even defeating the core formation stage disciples of the inner court, from that moment onwards, he knew that he had already lost the qualifications to compare himself with Duanling Tian. Even when he encountered Duanling Tian later on, he chose to directly admit defeat. Duanling Tian? This year's top-ranked on the hidden dragon list. Li Guang's eyes constricted as an interest arose within him. Duanling Tian. Li Guang walked up quickly to block in front of Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian frowned, and his gaze descended upon Li Yuan. What, Li Yuan? What do you want? He naturally thought it was Li Yuan who asked this person to block his path. After all, he didn't recognize this person. Li Yuan had a face full of a bitter smile, as he knew that Duanling Tian had misunderstood, and thus he hurriedly said to Li Guang, I don't want anything. Brother Guang, let's go. I heard you snatched away my cousin's woman. Li Guang paid no attention to Li Yuan and instead looked at Duanling Tian, his eyes flickering with a fierce light. Your cousin's woman? Duanling Tian hadn't reacted to what was being said. Li Yuan is my cousin. Li Guang grunted coldly. Li Yuan, when did I snatch away your woman? Duanling Tian was stunned. Brother Guang, what nonsense are you speaking of? Li Yuan's face flushed red. Little brother Yuan, when did you become such a why? This isn't how you used to be. Li Guang frowned once again before glancing at Duanling Tian and sneering. Isn't there a young girl called Ku-er at your side? She's the woman my cousin took a fancy to. If you're sensible, then hurry up and leave her side, or else don't blame me for being ruthless. Li Yuan was stupefied. When did he ever say that the young girl at Duanling Tian's side was his woman? He had only just casually praised her, and said her beauty was not one bit inferior to Li Fei's. Duanling Tian's pupils constricted, and his piercingly cold gaze descended upon Li Yuan. Duanling Tian, I never said such a thing. I really didn't. Li Yuan became afraid and had a bitter smile on his face. You've never said such a thing? Then it's him who's talking nonsense and slandering my Ku-er. Duanling Tian's fierce and sharp gaze descended upon Li Guang. Every dragon has a reverse scale. Touch it, and one will absolutely die. Ku-er was precisely Duanling Tian's reverse scale. Noticing Duanling Tian's gaze, Li Guang's eyes turned cold as he shouted in a low voice, Duanling Tian, so what if I'm talking nonsense? Do you really think that just because you're the leading figure in Aurora City's younger generation, you can look down upon me? I'm not sure about others, but I really do look down upon you. The corners of Duanling Tian's mouth curled into a sneer. You're courting death. Li Guang's expression greatly distorted as he roared. Bang! He swung out his fist that was filled with raging origin energy, and it flashed in full fury straight towards Duanling Tian while whistling through the air. Above him, 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed into form. 4th level core formation martial artist. Li Guang attacked with full force right at the get-go. His attack was utterly ruthless. 4th level of the core formation stage? No wonder you're so arrogant. Duanling Tian's gaze slightly focused as he took a step forwards before sweeping his hands out. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. Instantly, fist and palm silhouettes suffused with origin energy swept out, seeming to transform into layers of mist. Abruptly, whoosh, dragon's finishing touch. Duanling Tian's finger tore through the air, accompanied by a piercing howl as it descended upon Li Guang's fist, which was approaching in full fury. In the blink of an eye, 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes appeared above Duanling Tian. Crack! The clear sound of a bone breaking sounded. Ah! Instantly, Li Guang emitted a shrill cry. Then his body trembled and flew out 7 or 8 meters like an arrow that had left the bowstrings, before crashing onto the ground in a sorry state. Subsequently, Li Guang clasped his finger bone that had shattered and rolled on the floor while emitting heart-rending cries. It was as if he would never feel exhausted. Li Yuan was dumbstruck. Duan Ling Tian had stepped into the second level of the core formation stage? As far as he knew, the reason Duan Ling Tian had a fleshly body that possessed an extra strength of 2 ancient mammoths in the past was because of him consuming a spirit fruit. At present, Duan Ling Tian was able to draw upon the energy of heaven and earth to condense 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes. There was only a single possibility. Duan Ling Tian had stepped into the second level of the core formation stage. Brother Guang, are you all right? Returning to his senses, Li Yuan quickly walked over and supported Li Guang up. Duan Ling Tian walked up with quick strides to arrive in front of Li Guang and looked at him with an icy cold gaze. Keep a low profile if you're incapable, and remember well what I said today. However strong you are, there will always be someone stronger. After he finished, Duan Ling Tian ignored Li Guang's gloomy expression and eyes that seemed to be emitting flames as he walked off in large strides. A martial artist at the fourth level of the core formation stage was nothing to the current him. He, who was currently at the second level of the core formation stage, possessed an entire 7 ancient mammoths worth of strength when fully exerting himself, and was comparable to a fifth-level core formation martial artist. Earlier, when he blasted Li Guang away, he held back and used 1 ancient mammoth's strength lesser than what he was capable of. Otherwise, Li Guang injuries would only be worse. Duan Ling Tian had only just entered his home when the 2 little pythons flashed over and dropped onto his shoulder, flicking their tongues as they licked his cheeks in an intimate manner. Little guys, we've only not seen each other for a day, and you're already missing me? Duan Ling Tian's face emitted a smile as he looked at the 2 little pythons. However, in the next moment, his smile froze, because he noticed that the 2 little pythons were staring at his spatial ring. I even thought that you 2 little guys really missed me, but I didn't expect that all you 2 missed were the origin increasing pills in my spatial ring. Duan Ling Tian derided as he realized what the 2 little pythons really wanted. After withdrawing 2 origin increasing pills and tossing them over to the 2 little guys, Duan Ling Tian let them go play by themselves. Subsequently, Duan Ling Tian walked over to Ku Er's room's door, and after noticing that Ku Er was still cultivating, he returned to his own room. After consuming an origin increasing pill, Duan Ling Tian started cultivating as well. 9 dragons wore sovereign technique, raging python form. Presently, Duan Ling Tian was charging towards the third level of the core formation stage. Due to the uniqueness of the raging python form, after he stepped into the second level of the core formation stage and finished tempering his body with origin energy, Duan Ling Tian's fleshly body strength had increased to a degree comparable to the strength of 5 ancient mammoths. Combined with his origin energy, which was comparable to the strength of 2 ancient mammoths, he possessed a strength of 7 ancient mammoths. Once he breaks through to the third level of the core formation stage, he will possess the strength of 8 ancient mammoths. And if he once again completes the body tempering using origin energy for the third level of the core formation stage, he will be able to possess the strength of 9 ancient mammoths. At that time, his strength would easily annihilate any 6th-level core formation martial artist and would be approaching the strength of a 7th-level core formation martial artist. Deep in the night, Duan Ling Tian exhaled a mouthful of foul air before ceasing to cultivate. Walking out of his room, he noticed that food was almost ready and thus sat down at the table and waited. After a short moment, the whole family sat around the table and enjoyed a meal. Duan Ling Tian gulped down a mouthful of food before saying, with a light voice, "Mom, I plan to head to Iron Blood City with Xiaoyu next month." "Going to the genius camp?" asked Li Ro. "Mom, how did you know?" Duan Ling Tian was stunned. "Young master, big sister Fei Fei had long since told us about it and asked us to be mentally prepared. She said that during the youth gathering earlier, she noticed you being extremely interested in the genius camp and said you would probably go there." Ku Er lightly smiled as she spoke. A strand of warmth flashed through Duan Ling Tian's heart. Never had he imagined that Li Fei had already helped pave the way for him. He originally thought that he would need to take some time and appease the 2 beauties at his home. "Tian, you're all grown up. Remember to take good care of yourself when you're outside. No matter what happens, you must always put your safety above all else," Li Ro slowly said. "I know, Mom." Duan Ling Tian nodded. The young girl puckered her mouth as she lightly said, "Young master, Ku Er doesn't want to part with you?" "Silly girl, I'm only going for a year. After a year, I will certainly obtain the qualifications to study in the Paladin Academy. At that time, I will bring you and Mom both to the Imperial City." Duan Ling Tian smiled as he spoke. All of this was something he had planned. Since he was leaving next month, besides cultivating, Duan Ling Tian got busy as well. Firstly, he inscribed the 30 blood crescent inscriptions for Tang Ying. Duan Ling Tian planned to exchange these 30 blood crescent inscription for a promise from Tan Ying. A promise that for the year when he left Aurora City and was at Iron Blood City, Tang Ying would ensure his family's safety. "Duan Ling Tian, we're assassins, not bodyguards." Tang Ying laughed bitterly. "I was originally going to ask you for 3 million silver for these 30 blood crescent inscriptions, but now I'm not asking for any payment. Besides this, during the time I'm away, our partnership would still continue as I'll ask Ku Er to take over and concoct the 6 treasures body tempering liquid for you." Duan Ling Tian frowned. "If you're unwilling, then forget it. I'll find someone else to partner with and sell the 6 treasures body tempering liquid." I bet the Alchemist Guild and Weapons Craftsman Guild would be interested in these 30 blood crescent inscriptions." "Stop. I'll promise." Tang Ying laughed bitterly. In the end, he still chose to compromise. Only now did Duan Ling Tian leave in satisfaction. Afterwards, he went to see the Li clan's patriarch, Li Ao. He still remembered that Li Ao owed him a favor. "Patriarch, that day during the clan martial meet, when you asked me to admit defeat to Li Qing, you made me a promise. Do you remember?" Duan Ling Tian didn't beat around the bush. "Of course I remember. Why? Do you have something you need my help with?" Li Ao asked. "I will be heading to Iron Blood City to enter the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp next month. I hope that during the time I'm gone, Patriarch can ensure the safety of my family," said Duan Ling Tian. "You want to enter the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp?" Li Ao frowned. "Duan Ling Tian, once you enter the Genius Camp, you will only have a slim chance of surviving. Have you thoroughly considered this?" Duan Ling Tian nodded. "I promise you." Li Ao agreed to the promise. "Aurora City, Alchemist Guild. Kid, I was just about to go look for you." Noticing Duan Ling Tian's arrival, Suimo's face was glowing and full of smiles. Duan Ling Tian's gaze focused, and he was slightly surprised. "Geezer, you broke through?" "Chi." Suimo lifted up his hand with his palm facing up, and a gold pill fire flickered for a moment before vanishing. "I just broke through the day before yesterday. Congratulations." Duan Ling Tian smiled. "It's all thanks to you that I was able to break through. After becoming a grade 7 alchemist, I've already applied for being recalled back into the county city. I'll be leaving in a few days, and this mess in Aurora City will be taken over by someone else." When Suimo spoke about the Aurora City's Alchemist Guild, his face was filled with dislike. "You said earlier that you were about to go look for me. You wanted to say your farewells?" Duan Ling Tian's eyes flickered. He was slightly surprised. "Yes." Suimo nodded before saying, "Is there something you came to see me for?" "I came to say my farewells as well. I'll be leaving Aurora City next month. I'll be heading to Iron Blood City to participate in the Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp test. And through the Genius Camp's training, I'll obtain the qualifications to study in Paladin Academy," Duan Ling Tian slowly said. "Paladin Academy is indeed a good choice. With your natural talent, it won't be hard to become outstanding in Paladin Academy." Suimo nodded. He already knew that everything Duan Ling Tian did was to abide by his teacher's instructions to gain experience, and as such he didn't dare throw out the Alchemist Guild's olive branch at Duan Ling Tian. "Geezer, I hope we can meet again in the future." Duan Ling Tian said his farewells to Suimo before leaving the Alchemist Guild. Suimo sent Duan Ling Tian out the door and watched as his figure slowly faded into the distance. His eyes flickered with heartfelt gratitude. It was all thanks to Duan Ling Tian that he was able to become a grade 7 alchemist in such a short period of time. With his departure being near at hand, Duan Ling Tian didn't leave the Li clan estate anymore. He only cultivated. He took his time to properly accompany his mother and Ku Er. The day of farewell approached and got closer day by day. Faye, I'm going out for a while. The old man's voice sounded from outside the room's door. Hearing this, Duan Ling Tian's eyes shined brightly as he glanced at the young girl in front of him, sizing up her hot figure. Little Faye, you can't escape today. Duan Ling Tian grinned widely, causing the young girl to seem nervous, and her face blushed a bright red. A night's time passed quickly. Duan Ling Tian only woke up at dawn the next day. Looking at the beautiful red rose that had bloomed on the bedsheets, the corners of his mouth curled into a light smile. And when his gaze fell upon the beauty beside him, the smile on the corners of his mouth grew even wider, and his eyes were filled with tender affection. The beauty was still deeply asleep, and her drop-dead gorgeous face was directly facing Duan Ling Tian, causing him to be infatuated for a time. Early in the morning, outside Aurora City, 3 large horses galloped out of the city. It was precisely Duan Ling Tian, Xiao Yu, and Meng Quan. Once we arrive at Iron Blood City, we will encounter the young geniuses of Swallow Mountain County and the other 80 cities. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. As they galloped on, Meng Quan grinned naively. Yeah, Aurora City is only one of the 80 cities under the rule of Swallow Mountain Kingdom. The other 80 cities of similar size as Aurora City will certainly have outstanding young geniuses as well. As for the county city, it will even have outstanding people appear one after the other. Xiao Yu deeply agreed. No matter what, our objective this time is to stand out of the crowd and become members of the Iron Blood Army's genius camp, Duan Ling Tian's said with a firm gaze. Presently, Duan Ling Tian had already tossed all the reluctance from leaving to the back of his head for the moment, as what he wanted to do was enter the genius camp, survive, and obtain the qualifications to study at Paladin Academy. At that time, he would be able to bring Ku heir, Li Fei, and his mother to the Imperial City. Li Fei's grandfather also. Xiao Yu had a serious expression as he slowly said, "We have a long journey ahead of us, so try your best not to get into any unwanted trouble." Duan Ling Tian and Meng Quan both nodded. Especially Duan Ling Tian, as he couldn't help himself from recalling what happened outside Triumph City the other day. Fortunately, that son of the county governor didn't investigate all the way to Aurora City. After experiencing a long and arduous journey for a month and being careful along the way, they eventually arrived at Iron Blood City. Although it was one of the 81 cities under the rule of Swallow Mountain County, Iron Blood City was slightly different. Iron Blood City was the only city under Swallow Mountain County that wasn't required to pay taxes to the county governor's estate, as the taxes of Iron Blood City were completely taken as the soldiers' provisions for the Iron Blood Army. Duan Ling Tian's pupils constricted as he arrived outside of Iron Blood City and gazed at the city that seemed like a metal drum. For the next year, he would be spending his days here. So many people. Meng Quan's gaze descended on Iron Blood City's city gate, where every path was filled with groups of youths galloping through. Even though the genius camp was brutal, there was still a slim chance of survival. If they could stay alive, then it would be a chance to achieve greatness. In addition to that, there were also plenty of people who wanted to try their luck. Duan Ling Tian's group followed the stream of people and galloped into Iron Blood City. The road in front of their eyes abruptly became clear. Streams of people came and went through the streets, bustling with noise and excitement. We finally arrived. Damn it, an entire 2 months journey. It's the first time I've traveled so damned far. 2 months isn't too bad. Some people even traveled for nearly 3 months. Let's go find a place to have a nice bath first. Damn it, I'm so itchy all over. 2 youths galloped past Duan Ling Tian's group. One of the youths grumbled all the way. 2 months? Meng Quan was stunned before laughing bitterly. We only traveled for a month, and I already can't take it. I didn't expect there to be people worse off than us. Of course there are. Iron Blood City is situated east of Swallow Mountain County, and our Aurora City is pretty well off as we're only at the southeast of Swallow Mountain County. People from the west of Swallow Mountain County require at least 3 months of travel to arrive at Iron Blood City. Xiao Yu shook his head and smiled. After traveling along together with Xiao Yu for this past month, Duan Ling Tian noticed something. Xiao Yu had always had an icy cold expression when he faced strangers. But when he faced people he was familiar with, he was instead extremely casual. According to the sayings of his past lifetime, it would be acting cool. In any case, since we have already arrived, let's go look for an inn to stay in first, Duan Ling Tian said. Before long, the three of them found a relatively clean inn to stay at. After resting for a few hours, when dusk nearly descended onto the land, the three of them left the inn and went for dinner at a nearby restaurant. The three of them hadn't eaten a proper meal this entire month. The restaurant was entirely filled with people. However, Duan Ling Tian's group's luck wasn't bad, as there so happened to be a table beside the window that had just finished their meal and left. There's really so many people, Meng Quan sighed after sitting down. It should be the busiest period for Iron Blood City around this time every year. Duan Ling Tian took a look around and noticed that more than 60% of the people dining in the restaurant were youths. Moreover, they were mostly gulping down their food in a hurry as they obviously had not eaten a proper meal in a long time. These people were probably young geniuses that had just arrived at Iron Blood City like the three of them. Before long, two waiters came over and cleared the used cutlery off the table. Today we can finally eat a proper meal. Xiao Yu smiled. Suddenly, four youths arrived at Duan Ling Tian's table. A blue-clothed youth among them with big eyes and bushy eyebrows said, with a thunderous voice, "The three of you, hurry up and leave. This table is ours." Duan Ling Tian indifferently swept the blue-clothed youth with his gaze and ignored him. Xiao Yu was too lazy to pay attention to him either. However, Meng Quan's expression sunk and he said in rage, "Why should we? We've already taken this table. If you want a place, wait for someone else to finish eating." "Kid, do you know who we are?" Another green-clothed youth among them had eyes that emitted a fierce light. "What's that got to do with me? All I know is that this table is ours." Meng Quan argued based on reason. "You three really want to oppose our Yu clan? Our Yu clan is one of the 5 great clans in the county city. It isn't something you bumpkins from the small clans of small cities can compare to," a gray-clothed youth snapped. "County City clan?" Meng Quan's face turned slightly grim. Aurora City's 3 great clans were already colossi to Meng Quan, let alone the great clans of the county city. They were practically titans. "Yes, we're precisely disciples of the Yu clan." Noticing Meng Quan's expression, the gray-clothed youth was slightly complacent. "Waiter, get us a table full of the best specialty dishes in the restaurant." Duan Ling Tian picked his ears as he looked towards the waiter and placed his order. Xiao Yu had an icy cold expression as he coolly added, "And another 2 jars of wine." "Yes, customer." Hearing what they said, the waiter hurriedly went to prepare it. "Didn't you hear what I said?" The gray-clothed youth's expression turned gloomy as he angrily gazed at Duan Ling Tian. The other 3 youths beside him had ugly expressions as well. "Xiao Yu, why do you think there are such annoying life forms like flies in this world?" Duan Ling Tian looked at Xiao Yu as he faked an astonished expression. "Who knows? Maybe they were born wanting to be despised." Xiao Yu went along. "You have a point. Meng Quan, what do you think?" Duan Ling Tian looked at Meng Quan. Meng Quan was from a small clan after all, and as such couldn't help being dumbstruck for a moment when he heard that the youths were from a large clan in the county city. Now that he saw Duan Ling Tian and Xiao Yu being so fearless, even he was influenced, so he took a deep breath and regained his composure. "I think so too. You're all courting death." The gray-clothed youth's face distorted, and he slapped his palm that flared with origin energy, flashing straight towards the initiator, Duan Ling Tian. Above him, 4 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed. 3rd-level core formation martial artist. Meng Quan's face became grim. "Humph." Xiao Yu grunted coldly as he swung out his sleeve that was suffused with origin energy to intercept the gray-clothed youth's palm strike. Above Xiao Yu, a similar 4 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed. Sleeve dimension. Bang. The gray-clothed youth's body trembled as his hand felt numbed and momentarily even lost all feeling, only to recover after a few moments. "Xiao Yu, you've broken through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage?" Meng Quan exclaimed. I broke through a month ago. Xiaoyu nodded. Kill them. The gray-clothed youth's expression was gloomy as he shouted explosively and pounced towards Xiaoyu. Instantly, the other three youths attacked at the same time, flashing out with immense force. K off. The corners of Duanling Tian's mouth curled into a sneer as he abruptly roared and stood up. He casually swung out his arm, even to the extent of not using any martial skills. It was just like a huge python's tail swinging out. In the blink of an eye, 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes condensed above him, dazzling the eyes of everyone present. A terrifying force poured out of his arm, flying straight towards the 4 youths that were approaching menacingly. Instantly, the 4 youths came and went like the wind and were blasted away before crashing onto the floor in a sorry state. 4th level of the core formation stage. The restaurant was in an uproar. Gazes filled with disbelief descended onto Duanling Tian one after the other, as their hearts were filled with shock. Oh my god, this youth looks to be around 16 or 17 years old, but he's actually a 4th level core formation martial artist. Which city and which clan did this monster come from? Could he be a member of one of the large clans of the county city? Impossible. Didn't you hear what those 4 youths said? They are members of the county city's Yu clan. With his natural talent, if he was from a large clan in the county city, how could these 4 youths not recognize him? County city's Yu clan really lost face this time. The crowd started discussing together. Many people had faces full of mocking smiles as they looked towards the 4 youths that were struggling to stand up. 4th level of the core formation stage. The 4 youths had ugly expressions and their gazes emitted a sense of fear as they looked at Duanling Tian. If you still don't want to K off, then don't blame me for being ruthless. Duanling Tian's gaze went cold as he swept his gaze over the 4 of them. Kid, the Yu clan won't let you off. The 4 youths' faces distorted as they fled the scene in a sorry state, and at the same time they didn't forget to leave a threat. Duanling Tian paid no attention to their threats and returned to his seat. You too. Duanling Tian quickly noticed that Xiaoyu and Mengquan were staring fixedly at him, causing him to instantly feel uncomfortable. Duanling Tian, you're absolutely a freak. You broke through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage as well? As Mengquan reached the end of what he wanted to say, he suppressed the sound of his voice. He knew that Duanling Tian's fleshly body had an extraordinary strength, so as far as he was concerned, Duanling Tian being able to exert a strength of 6 ancient mammoths would undoubtedly be because he had broken through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage. Duanling Tian smiled mysteriously. He didn't admit it nor did he deny it. Xiaoyu deeply glanced at Duanling Tian before saying with certainty, "Do you even need to ask? He certainly has broken through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage." At this moment, he felt powerless in his heart. He originally thought that he would be able to compete with Duanling Tian once he broke through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage. But now it seemed like Duanling Tian had left him even further in the distance. This violet-clothed youth's natural talent is too shocking. Yeah, even our Swallow Mountain County's county governor's 3rd son, Pei San's, natural talent is inferior to his. I heard Pei San was planning to participate in this year's Genius Camp test, but he won't be coming because of an accident that happened a few months ago. What accident? Could it be that you didn't hear of it? That Pei San's arm was cut off by a sword-cultivating youth outside of Triumph City. Even though it was reconnected later on, he's unable to use martial skills with it, so his strength was reduced drastically. Duanling Tian's brows twitched. Pei San, the 3rd son of Swallow Mountain County's county governor, his arm was precisely cut off by Duanling Tian. He didn't expect that the news had already spread. With a quick thought, Duanling Tian quickly realized something. There wasn't an impermeable wall in this world, let alone one that could block explosive news such as this. Before long, the waiter had brought out and served the dishes and wine. Duanling Tian's group chatted as they ate. I've heard of the Swallow Mountain County's county governor's 3rd son, Pei San. Allegedly, he broke through to the 3rd level of the core formation stage before the age of 17 and is a famous youth genius in Swallow Mountain County. Mengquan's eyes flickered as he slowly spoke. Since the arm which he uses to execute martial skills was crippled, his life can be considered to be completely ruined, said Xiao Yu. Doesn't he still have the other hand? Asked Meng Quan in a daze. Xiao Yu shook his head and laughed. Meng Quan was puzzled. He turned his gaze toward the violet-clothed youth. Duan Ling Tian, what does Xiao Yu mean? Meng Quan. Duan Ling Tian looked at Meng Quan as he smiled. Which hand are you skilled in executing martial skills with? Of course it's my right hand, Meng Quan bluntly stated. Then when you eat with chopsticks or right, which hand do you use? Asked Duan Ling Tian. My right hand as well. It's been a habit since I was small. Meng Quan didn't ponder and directly answered. That's right. So to speak, if your right hand was crippled as well, and you were unable to execute martial skills, how long would it take you to make your left hand replace your right hand completely? Duan Ling Tian threw out another question. At this moment, Meng Quan seemed to have understood. A person's entire life was only for a few tens of years. If the most important arm of Pei San was crippled and he wanted to cultivate his martial arts anew on his left hand, or change entirely to kicking technique martial skills, it would certainly require a huge amount of time, and this would in turn delay the speed at which his cultivation level increased. As time went by, even his peers who had inferior natural talent to him in the past would now throw him off far in the distance. Tisk. Meng Quan couldn't stop himself from being astounded. I wonder who was so ruthless to cut off Pei San's arm with a single sword strike. That's the son of our Swallow Mountain County's county governor. If they find out who he is, I'm afraid he will die a graveless death. Xiao Yu made nothing of it. So long has passed, but I've never heard of the governor's estate being able to find the assailant. They probably can't find him. That's true as well. Meng Quan nodded. Duan Ling Tian's eyes narrowed as he took his time to eat and acted as if everything that Meng Quan and Xiao Yu were talking about wasn't related to him. But Duan Ling Tian, you were really ruthless earlier. Those 4 youths from the Yu clan were directly blasted away instantaneously by you. This matter would probably spread around the entire Iron Blood City not too long from now. At that time, the Yu clan will have really lost face. Xiao Yu looked at Duan Ling Tian as he shook his head and laughed. Even if they lose face, it was something they brought upon themselves. There are so many people eating here in the restaurant, but they just had to come to our table. Duan Ling Tian rolled his eyes with an indifferent expression. The Yu clan won't cause trouble for us, right? Meng Quan was slightly worried. Meng Quan, you're overthinking things. Even if the Yu clan wanted to cause trouble for us, it would be a year from now. The members of the Yu clan earlier have decent strength and should be able to enter the genius camp. At that time, it isn't even certain if they will still be alive. As Xiao Yu finished speaking, killing intent flashed within his eyes. Duan Ling Tian's brows slightly twitched. He felt a strand of true killing intent coming off Xiao Yu. This was something that the other youth martial artists he encountered didn't possess. Obviously, Xiao Yu had killed someone before, and it wasn't only 1 or 2 people. After eating their fill, Duan Ling Tian's group left the restaurant, but they were still deeply remembered by the crowd of young geniuses within the restaurant. Especially Duan Ling Tian, a 16 or 17-year-old 4th-level core formation martial artist. It was impossible to wish that he wouldn't be remembered. Duan Ling Tian's group went around Iron Blood City before returning to the inn to rest. Tomorrow, they would head to the Iron Blood Army's campground to register themselves. Duan Ling Tian didn't cultivate tonight. Instead, he lied there on his bed and recalled his experiences this past year. He couldn't help but sigh. Now I can be considered to have completely integrated myself into this world. A warm smile appeared on the corners of Duan Ling Tian's mouth. He thought of his mother, Ku Er, and Li Fei. They were the people he cared the most about in this world. For their sake, he was willing to go against the entire world. Deep in the night, Duan Ling Tian fell soundly asleep. He had a very long dream. In this dream, he spent his days with Ku Er and Li Fei and even had plenty of kids later on, when the 9th child had just been born. Duan Ling Tian. A thunderous voice jolted Duan Ling Tian awake. F***K. Meng Quan, you've destroyed my sweet dream. Duan Ling Tian casually cleaned himself up and changed his clothes before walking out of his room and shouting the four-letter word. Ming-Quan embarrassedly touched the back of his head and laughed naively. Let's go and register ourselves. At this time, Xiaoyu came out as well. On the east side of Iron Blood City, a vast area had been divided. This was precisely the Iron Blood Army's campgrounds. Presently, at the entrance to the Iron Blood Army's campground were lines of queues that were as long as dragons. Plenty of youths had lined up into neat lines. We're still too late. Ming-Quan was stunned when he saw the packed and dense lines of youths. It doesn't matter if we're late as long as someone wasn't late. As Duanling Tian looked off into the distance, a smile appeared on his face. Huh. Xiaoyu and Ming-Quan had puzzled expressions. Let's go. Someone has helped us reserve some places. Duanling Tian brought along Xiaoyu and Ming-Quan. He took the lead and walked towards the front of the line. Hey, have a bit of morality and line up. Shame on you for cutting in line. Kid, we're talking about you. Immediately, the crowd of youths that were drenched in sweat from lining up couldn't help themselves from berating Duanling Tian's group. Xiaoyu and Ming-Quan were both slightly embarrassed. Duanling Tian, let's just go and queue up, Ming-Quan said, in a low voice. Duanling Tian ignored Ming-Quan and instead looked towards the people who raised a clamor. He frowned as he said, What are you all fussing about? When did you see me cutting the line? We've been here since early in the morning, and our companions have reserved a place for us in the front. Hearing what Duanling Tian said, the group of people who raised a clamor went silent, but now they had doubtful expressions as they looked at Duanling Tian. Ming-Quan and Xiaoyu were both stunned. Companions? Why didn't they know that they had companions? Hey, brothers, sorry for troubling you to line up for us. Lunch is on me. Meanwhile, Duanling Tian had already arrived at the front of the queue and slapped his hand on the gray-clothed youth's back. Which bastard touched me? The gray-clothed youth roared, but when he noticed Duanling Tian, he swallowed whatever he was going to say. You. Brothers, thank you for all the trouble. Duanling Tian's eyes narrowed as he smiled and interrupted the gray-clothed youth before looking at the other three youths and nodding. Although seemingly friendly, Duanling Tian's eyes flashed with a trace of threatening intent. These four youths weren't anyone else, but precisely the four youths that Duanling Tian taught a lesson to last night in the restaurant. Only now did Ming-Quan and Xiaoyu get it, and they secretly gave Duanling Tian a big thumbs up. In this manner, Duanling Tian's group successfully cut the line. Upon seeing the gray-clothed youth's reaction, the surrounding youths that were glaring fiercely naturally thought that Duanling Tian and them were really companions. Of course, there were some youths who were coincidentally eating at the restaurant last night and had recognized Duanling Tian and the gray-clothed youth, but they didn't speak a word of it. They had all experienced Duanling Tian's strength and were frightened of bringing trouble to themselves. The gray-clothed youth's face was flushed and his heart trembled. Damn it, have I offended the gods in these past 2 days? Why is it that everywhere I go, I meet this bane? Not mentioning yesterday at the restaurant, today I queued up since early in the morning, but I still had to let him cut in, he thought, but he just didn't dare to say anything. Or else he could imagine his end would be even more miserable than yesterday. You shall, this guy is going too far. The three youths behind the gray-clothed youth were filled with rage. However, they only dared to use a voice that sounded as loud as a mosquito when they spoke. Then tell me, what should we do? Why not you three chase him away? Yu Xiao rolled his eyes at his three companions. Hearing this, the three youths immediately acted as if they didn't hear him. They looked around and maintained their silence. Before long, it was the turn of Duanling Tian's group. After filling in the simple registration form, the three of them each obtained a number card. Duanling Tian's number was 137. Xiaoyu was 138. Ming-Quan was 139. An Iron Blood Army soldier who wore light armor said, with a cold and unfeeling expression, "Before noon tomorrow, use your number cards and enter our Iron Blood Army's campgrounds to participate in the test. You'll be a member of the Genius Camp once you pass the test." Duanling Tian's group of three nodded before turning around and planning to leave. Thanks, brothers. In consideration of us having so much fate together, I'll treat you to some tea when we're free." Before leaving, Duan Ling Tian patted the gray-clothed youth on the shoulder and grinned, revealing a row of neat and white teeth. "Also, your name isn't bad. Yu Shao. It sounds like an extraordinary name the moment you hear it. I've learned some divination in the past. Trust me when I say that you will surely be a great figure in the future." Obviously, Duan Ling Tian heard the discussion between Yu Shao and his three companions. The corners of Xiao Yu's and Meng Quan's mouths twitched as they forcefully endured the urge to laugh. Yu Zhao's face went blank. What did this Bane actually want to do? Duan Ling Tian smiled and patted Yu Zhao's shoulder as he slowly said, "Okay, brothers, hurry up and get your number cards, or else Mr. Soldier over there won't be too happy." Duan Ling Tian walked away with large strides as soon as he finished speaking. Just at this moment, "The four of you are together?" The Iron Blood Army soldier's face sunk as he asked Yu Shao and the three youths behind him. "Yes, Mr. Soldier." Yu Shao hurriedly nodded. Even though he was a disciple of the County Cities Yu clan, the Iron Blood Army inspired awe throughout the kingdom, and the soldiers within the army were said to be extremely cruel and merciless, so he didn't dare to be presumptuous. The Iron Blood Army soldier seemed to have transformed into a glaring guardian warrior of the Buddha as he howled. "It's been some time since the three people in front of you finished obtaining their number cards, but you four only come over now. Are you four purposely trying to make it hard on me?" "No, no." Yu Shao hurriedly waved his hand in denial. "Humph. In consideration of you four delaying the people behind, the four of you scram to the back of the line and queue up once more." The Iron Blood Army soldier had an expression that didn't allow any arguments. "Mr. Soldier, it had nothing to do with me, it's all." Yu Shao still wanted to argue. The Iron Blood Army soldier's face sunk as he roared, "Scram!" A terrifying murderous aura that was attained on the battlefield enveloped Yu Shao, pressing onto him until his face turned ghastly white. Yu Zhao's group of four could only gloomily run over to the back of the line and queue up once more. Immediately, the surroundings sounded with a wave of mocking laughter. "Hey, brother, how could you let Mr. Soldier wait for you? Mr. Soldier's life isn't easy. He's going to great troubles to help so many people register, so you should properly show understanding and sympathy to him." Maybe it was on purpose, but Duan Ling Tian was waiting at the end of the line. He looked at Yu Shao with an expression full of pity while heaving a sigh. Yu Zhao's face flushed. He couldn't endure any longer. "Kid, I definitely won't let you off." "Brother, getting angry is harmful to your health. Remember to drink more water after you're done queuing up." Duan Ling Tian grinned widely before leaving with Xiao Yu and Meng Quan. "Ha ha ha ha." Meng Quan was the first to be unable to hold in his laughter anymore, so he loudly laughed in an unrestrained manner. Even Xiao Yu started laughing. Meng Quan once again gave Duan Ling Tian a big thumbs up as he said in admiration, "Duan Ling Tian, you did that on purpose, right? You didn't even forget to entrap that Yu Shao before leaving. You're really too ruthless. I never noticed in the past that you were so skilled in playing tricks on people." Xiao Yu couldn't help but shake his head. "Cough, cough. Don't speak carelessly. Do you two really think I'm that type of person?" Duan Ling Tian lightly coughed twice before saying so in all seriousness. "Yes." Xiao Yuan and Meng Quan both nodded in tacit understanding. The smile on Duan Ling Tian's face completely froze. "Let's go and eat some breakfast while it's still early." After embarrassedly laughing, Duan Ling Tian changed the topic. The three of them were in elated moods, and their meal was especially satisfying. For the remaining of the day, they walked around Iron Blood City. At dusk, they had dinner before returning to the inn and waiting for the arrival of tomorrow's test. That night, Duan Ling Tian consumed an origin-increasing pill and calmed his mind to cultivate the 9 Dragons War Sovereign Techniques Raging Python form's mental cultivation method. The Raging Python form was different compared to Spirit Serpent form. If it was said that the Spirit Serpent form stressed on cultivating the fleshly body to become flexible like a Spirit Serpent, then the Raging Python form instead stressed on the fleshly body possessing the strength of a Raging Python. For example, the move which Duan Ling Tian used to teach a lesson to those 4U clan youths. His arms seemed to be casually swung out, but it actually contained the force exertion method of a raging python, so it was as if a real raging python had swung its tail out to attack. It could be considered a group attack method that differed from Dragon's finishing touch. Dragon's finishing touch was developed from the cloud-piercing finger that Rebirth Martial Emperor cultivated and belonged to a type of extremely formidable single-target attack methods. Although the force exertion method that the raging python form endowed upon me isn't a martial skill, its might isn't inferior to a martial skill. It's similar to the method of how a demon beast attacks. I have a feeling that once I cultivate the raging python form to the later stages, its might not be inferior to a high-grade profound rank martial skill at the mastery stage. Duan Ling Tian's eyes shone. His heart was filled with motivation, so he started even more to painstakingly cultivate the raging python form's mental cultivation method. He cultivated deep into the night before finally falling into a deep slumber. The next day, because the requirement was to enter the Iron Blood Army campgrounds before noon, Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 slept until late in the morning before awakening. They were mentally prepared, because once they become members of the Genius Camp, they will probably never have the chance to sleep in again. After having their breakfast, the 3 of them took their time to walk over to the Iron Blood Army's campgrounds. Arriving at the campground's entrance, Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 displayed their number cards before walking in. Before their eyes was a vast drill ground. The surroundings of the drill grounds stood filled with people. They were all youths beneath the age of 19. Duan Ling Tian's group of 3 stood at the side. They were waiting for noon to arrive. Duan Ling Tian. Suddenly, Meng Quan looked at Duan Ling Tian with a weird gaze before looking off into the distance. Duan Ling Tian lifted his head to look over. What he saw was that the 4 Yu clan youths from before had arrived, but this time there was an extra person among them. Yu Zhao's group of 4 followed behind this person in a respectful and reverent manner. This was a youth around the age of 18 who wore black clothes with gold lining and had a face that emitted wildness and hard-heartedness. He was virtually a duplicate of Xiao Yu. Yu Xiao noticed Duan Ling Tian, and his face turned grim before turning and saying something in a low voice to the black-clothed youth in the lead. After hearing what he said, the black-clothed youth frowned, and his piercing gaze descended onto Duan Ling Tian. At the same time, he walked towards Duan Ling Tian. "It's you who not only injured my Yu clan members, but even played tricks on them?" The black-clothed youth approached menacingly. His icy cold gaze seemed to be ready to swallow Duan Ling Tian at any moment. Hua. Above the black-clothed youth, 6 ancient mammoth silhouettes instantly condensed into form. 4th level of the core formation stage. Instantly, Xiao Yu and Meng Quan's faces turned grim. Duan Ling Tian's brows raised, showing that he was slightly surprised. He was pondering earlier about how the Yu clan could be one of the 5 great clans in the county city. Logically speaking, it would be impossible for the members that came to only be Yu Zhao's group of 4. In Yu Zhao's group of 4, Yu Xiao was the strongest. But he was far from being Xiao Yu's match. Although both were at the 3rd level of the core formation stage, Xiao Yu's sleeve dimension had completely and utterly defeated him. So it turned out to be that the black-clothed youth in front of him was the real number 1 in the Yu clan's young geniuses. 18 years old, 4th level of the core formation stage. His natural talent could be considered to be pretty good. At this moment, the surrounding youths that noticed that something was going on gathered around to join in on the fun. It's Yu Xiang, the number 1 in the younger generation of the county city's Yu clan. Allegedly, among the younger generation of the county city, this Yu Xiang was ranked number 2, merely inferior to the Tan clan's Tan Rue. You're right. Although Yu Xiang and Tan Rue are both at the 4th level of the core formation stage, in terms of martial skills, he was inferior to Tan Rue, but even then they were closely matched. Who's this violet-clothed youth who actually dared to offend Yu Xiang? I recognize him. At dusk the day before yesterday, he beat up the other 4 members of the Yu clan. So that's how it is. Looks like Yu Xiang is standing up for them. Some of the youth started discussing amongst themselves. You're right, I did injure them, but it was they who provoked me first. As for playing tricks, I wonder where you got that from? Duan Ling Tian had a carefree expression as he calmly looked at Yu Xiang. He heard the discussions of the surrounding youths. He didn't expect that this Yu Xiang was actually ranked second in the entire county city's younger generation. Yu Zhao's face flushed as he howled. You caused us to have to line up once again. Isn't this playing tricks? What does your group having to line up once again have to do with me? You should go ask that soldier, right? Duanling Tian gazed weirdly at them. The three of you kneel down and kowtow 3 times, then this matter will be over. Yu Xiang's gaze swept past Duanling Tian, Mengquan, and Xiao Yu. Even though he had heard from Yu Xiao that this violet-clothed youth was at the 4th level of the core formation stage, as far as he was concerned, in terms of combat experience and martial skills, how could a 16 or 17-year-old kid compare to him? Meng Quan's expression distorted. Even his breath became hurried due to anger. Xiao Yu's cold face had an extra icy coldness to it as well. Haha. Duanling Tian started laughing as he walked forward and looked Yu Xiang in the eye without any fear. The 4 of you kneel down and kowtow 10 times. Maybe then I will let bygones be bygones and forgive you all. As Duanling Tian finished speaking, his body emitted a strand of bloody killing intent. After being hit by the killing intent, Yu Zhao's face instantly turned slightly pale. What are you all doing? Just at this moment, a shout echoed out. A robust Iron Blood Army general walked over in large strides. After understanding the cause of events, his face sunk. The robust general shouted in a low voice, "Today is the test day of our Iron Blood Army's genius camp. If anyone dares to provoke conflict before the test, their test qualifications will be directly abolished. My elder brother is a centurion of your Iron Blood Army, Yu Hong." Yu Xiang looked at the robust general and his gaze flickered. Huh. Duanling Tian's face turned grim. Meng Quan and Xiao Yu's expressions were ugly as well. This Yu Xiang's elder brother was actually a centurion in the Iron Blood Army? Duanling Tian could be unafraid of Yu Xiang, but he had no choice but to fear the centurion brother of Yu Xiang. At the same time, the crowd was restless. I remember now. Yu Xiang's elder brother, Yu Hong, entered the Iron Blood Army's genius camp 7 years ago. After that, there was no news of him entering Paladin Academy, so most people thought that he had died. Who would have known that he actually stayed in the Iron Blood Army and even became their centurion? A 25-year-old centurion? Truly extraordinary. No wonder I heard that Yu Xiang didn't go line up to register for this year's Genius Camp test at all. So it turned out his brother had long ago arranged everything for him. If his brother is a centurion of the Iron Blood Army, this much special treatment is possible. F***K. Then doesn't that mean that during the Genius Camp training, this Yu Xiang will have the care of his elder brother and will have the special treatment to smoothly pass? It's good to have an elder brother as a centurion in the Iron Blood Army. In my opinion, this Yu Xiang doesn't even have to come at all. All he will have to do is ask his brother to give him one of the places in the quota to study at Paladin Academy. All of the discussion of the youths were pointed at Yu Xiang. Noticing the scene losing control, the robust general's expression turned gloomy. After glaring at Yu Xiang, he said loudly, "Everyone, please do not worry. Our Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp's training is equal to everyone. Moreover, even if a general had a relative inside the Genius Camp, he would be unable to take part in the Genius Camp training, and he would have to avoid anything that may arouse suspicion. This point is something our Iron Blood Army has strict rules on. If anyone goes against them, they will be punished by martial law." As he finished speaking, he once again looked at Yu Xiang with a piercing gaze. "I don't care if your elder brother is our Iron Blood Army centurion or not. If you're standing here today, then you must abide by the Iron Blood Army's rules. If you don't, I will abolish your qualification to take part in the test." The robust general's voice was like thunder as it echoed out. For a moment, many of the youth's expressions eased up slightly. "You're just a decurion and you dare to have no respect for my elder brother?" Yu Xiang's face sunk and his gaze became icy cold. In the Iron Blood Army, military law is enforced strictly. Even if he's a centurion, if he commits an offense, then he will be judged the same way as a soldier, the robust general said, in a neither humble nor arrogant manner. "Good. Great job, Sir Decurion." Many of the youths present couldn't stop themselves from praising him. Even Duanling Tian gave the robust general a second glance, as he noticed that this was a person who acted on emotion, and his speech didn't have a trace of falseness. Good, very good. Yu Xiang's expression was ugly as he stared fixedly at the robust general. What's your name? I need to remember it properly, so I can let my elder brother remember you properly as well? Do you need to ask your elder brother to properly remember me as well? Just at this moment, a majestic voice sounded from outside the crowd. In the wake of the voice that echoed out, the crowd automatically opened up a path. A dignified middle-aged man wearing exquisite armor slowly walked into the crowd under the accompaniment of two generals. His gaze descended onto Yu Xiang. Yu Xiang's face went grim. Vice Commander, sir. Captains, sirs. The robust general respectfully saluted the three people who had just arrived. Vice Commander, sir. Captains, sirs. All of the surrounding youths, including Yu Xiang, who had an ugly expression, respectfully saluted. Only one violet-clothed youth stood there unfazed. The dignified middle-aged man, or in other words, the vice commander of the Iron Blood Army, deeply glanced at Duanling Tian as he asked, "Why didn't you salute?" Xiao Yu and Meng Quan both broke out into cold sweat, worrying about Duanling Tian. The corners of Yu Xiang's mouth curled into a sneer, as he felt that Duanling Tian was going to have a hard time. "I'm not a member of the Iron Blood Army right now. Why should I salute you?" Duanling Tian asked indifferently. "Audacious!" The two captains behind the vice commander roared. Their expressions went grim. Instantly, two dense murderous auras enveloped Duanling Tian, as if wanting to force Duanling Tian into submission. However, they were bound to be disappointed. Duanling Tian stood on the spot, unfazed. The two captains were stupefied and their expressions froze. Was this really a youth of only 16 or 17 years? To actually be able to disregard the murderous aura they developed on the battlefield? If they knew what Duanling Tian did for a living in his previous life, maybe they wouldn't be so surprised. The vice commander glanced deeply at Duanling Tian as he asked in interest, "What kind of principle is this? They aren't Iron Blood Army members either, so why did they salute us?" "Them?" Duanling Tian swept his gaze at the surrounding youths before slowly saying, "There are only 3 reasons why they would have saluted you. The first, they feared you. The second, they admired you. Or the third, following the behavior of the crowd blindly." Fear? Admire? Follow the crowd blindly? Haha. Interesting. Interesting. I must say, what you just said went straight to the heart of the matter. The vice commander nodded as he emitted a rare smile on his face. Xiao Yu and Meng Quan heaved a sigh of relief. Yu Xiang and Yu Zhao's group of youths, however, had ugly expressions. "So you're saying that you don't fear me, don't admire me, nor do you follow blindly with the crowd, right?" the vice commander asked. "Yes." Duanling Tian nodded. The vice commander suddenly turned hostile as he roared, "Audacious!" And then an even more terrifying murderous aura enveloped Duanling Tian. Not only that, but this murderous aura even spread out to the surroundings, causing all the surrounding youths' faces to turn slightly pale. Even Yu Xiang was suppressed to the point that his face flushed. At this moment, among the people present, besides the two captains and the decurion, only one other person wasn't affected at all by this murderous aura, and it was precisely the person who was at the center of the murderous aura, Duanling Tian. Duanling Tian stood there unmoved like a mountain, his expression carefree as if even if Mount Tai were to collapse, it wouldn't cause his expression to change. "Good." The vice commander abruptly started laughing as his eyes emitted a trace of valuing a talent. "Kid, what's your name?" "Duanling Tian." Duanling Tian's eyebrows slightly twitched. "Duanling Tian, your name is really arrogant one, actually daring to rise and place yourself above the heavens." The smile on the vice commander's face didn't disappear as he continued, "I'm the Iron Blood Army's vice commander, Xiao Shan, and the person in charge of the Genius Camp test today. I hope you can smoothly pass the test, as I'm really looking forward to your performance." Duanling Tian smiled lightly and said, in a neither humble nor arrogant manner, "I will surely not let Vice Commander Qiao be disappointed." The surrounding youths were completely dumbstruck. When Duan Ling Tian started arguing with the Vice Commander Qiao, all of them thought that he was going to have a hard time. But in the end, seeing Duan Ling Tian actually being able to receive special attention from Vice Commander Qiao caused them to be unable to help themselves from gasping in admiration. If it was them in his place, they would probably have long been scared **** by Vice Commander Qiao. Duan Ling Tian. They all deeply remembered this name. This youth who dared to confront an Iron Blood Army vice commander who had gone through hundreds of bloody battles. He was bound to be engraved deep within their memories. Yu Xiang's expression became even uglier. This guy. His gaze fell upon Duan Ling Tian, and it emitted a trace of maliciousness. Duan Ling Tian frowned. This Yu Xiang didn't know when to cut it quits. Decurion Wang Mang, you did a great job earlier and didn't throw the face of our Iron Blood Army. Meanwhile, Xiao Qingshan looked towards the robust general and nodded. Wang Mang stood ramrod straight as he loudly said, "Vice Commander, sir. This is my duty." Very good. Wang Mang, from today onwards, you will replace Yu Hong and be promoted to the rank of Centurion. Yu Hong privately obtained test qualifications for his brother, and that is considered to be exploiting his power for his brother, so he will be demoted to the rank of Decurion. Xiao Qingshan had a tranquil expression as he slowly gave his orders. Yu Xiang's expression distorted greatly. Never would he have expected that he actually indirectly caused harm to his own elder brother. The gaze he looked at Duan Ling Tian with became even more filled with malice. As far as he was concerned, all of this was because of Duan Ling Tian. If it wasn't for Duan Ling Tian, Wang Mang wouldn't be drawn over, and the matter wouldn't have gotten so out of hand. Thank you, Vice Commander, sir. Wang Mang had a pleasantly surprised look on his face as he repeatedly expressed his thanks. You deserve it. Xiao Qingshan nodded. Seeing all that was happening, Duan Ling Tian's eyes flashed with a bright light, as a sense of admiration arose in his heart. Taking a deep breath, he took a step forward. Duan Ling Tian, reporting to Vice Commander, sir. Duan Ling Tian saluted Xiao Qingshan. Xiao Qingshan was dazed for a moment before reacting to Duan Ling Tian's change of attitude, and he laughed. You kid, you're really interesting. After a moment, Xiao Qingshan turned his gaze over to Yu Xiang. Yu Xiang, I should really reclaim the number card in your hand and abolish your qualification to participate in the Genius Camp test. But since your elder brother has already been punished now, I'll let bygones be bygones. Thank you, Vice Commander, sir. Yu Xiang was anguished in his heart, but he could only express his gratitude. Okay, it's noon, so the Genius Camp test will officially begin. Xiao Qingshan's thunderous voice that contained origin energy echoed out, transmitting out towards the entire drill grounds. At the same time, he brought along the two captains and ascended the high platform in the center of the drill grounds. This year, our Iron Blood Army's Genius Camp test will be different from the previous years. This year's test is only about one word: slaughter. Xiao Qingshan looked at the group of youths in front of him as he slowly spoke. Slaughter? Many of the youths had puzzled expressions. Interesting. The corners or Duan Ling Tian mouth curled into a light smile. Xiao Yu had a tranquil expression. Mengquan's expression turned slightly pale as he asked, Duan Ling Tian, Xiao Yu, this slaughter can't be indicating killing someone, right? What, haven't killed someone before? Duan Ling Tian asked, in a joking manner. Of course not. Mengquan shook his head. Then you better learn properly today. Duan Ling Tian smiled. You've killed someone before? Mengquan's eyes stared wide open. Is it that strange? Duan Ling Tian was dazed. I just remembered that you're a freak. Xiao Yu, have you killed someone before? After he rolled his eyes at Duan Ling Tian, Mengquan looked eagerly at Xiao Yu. Yes. Xiao Yu nodded. Mengquan laughed bitterly. Damn, I probably won't get through the test. The test hasn't even started, and you're already so sluggish. If you ask me, you should just give up and go home, Duan Ling Tian angrily scolded. No, I'm not going home. I will definitely pass the test. After hearing what Duan Ling Tian said, Mengquan seemed to recall something as his gaze abruptly became firm, causing Duanling Tian and Xiao Yu to be caught off guard. It looked like Ming Quan was a person with a story as well. Meanwhile, the Iron Blood Army's vice commander, Xiao Qingshan, had already started announcing the test rules. This year's test stresses upon three main points: courage, strength, and teamwork. The participants of the test may participate in a solo fashion or team up with the companions that they trust. Duanling Tian and Xiao Yu looked at each other and smiled. Ming Quan, Xiao Yu and I plan to participate together. Do you want to join us? Duanling Tian asked. Thanks. I know you two are trying to help me, but I want to rely on myself. You two can help me right now, but you can't help me my entire life. Ming Quan's eyes flashed with a trace of gratitude as he saw through Duanling Tian's intentions. I believe that you will certainly pass the test. Duanling Tian nodded. Right, Duanling Tian and I will take the test solo to encourage you, said Xiao Yu. This year's test will be conducted in a 1 versus 10 fashion. Your opponents will be the enemy kingdom soldiers that my Iron Blood Army took as prisoners. Anyone who kills all 10 enemy kingdom soldiers will be considered to have passed the test. Xiao Qingshan paused briefly. Immediately, various changes of expressions occurred on the youths that were present. Are you kidding? We have to face 10 enemy kingdom soldiers by ourselves? Even if those soldiers are far from being comparable to the elite soldiers of the Iron Blood Army, they would still be at least at the 9th level of the body tempering stage. If there were some core formation stage martial artists mixed within, how could we possibly deal with it? Yeah, this is virtually a trial of death. The entire drill ground was in uproar. Silence! Xiao Qingshan's voice smothered out the voices of everyone present. Instantly, peace was restored to the drill grounds. Out of the 10 enemy kingdom soldiers that I've arranged for each and every one of you, 6 are at the 9th level of the body tempering stage, 3 at the 1st level of the core formation stage, and 1 at the 2nd level of the core formation stage. If 2 people take the test jointly, then they will be assigned 12 9th level body tempering prisoners, 6 1st level core formation prisoners, and 2 2nd level core formation prisoners. If it is 3 people jointly taking the test, you can deduce it from the earlier allocations. If anyone among you doesn't dare to take the test, you may choose to withdraw right now and leave my Iron Blood Army's drill grounds. As he finished speaking, Xiao Qingshan's voice became cold and indifferent. Now, I'll give you all 3 minutes to consider, Xiao Qingshan added. Immediately, the drill grounds was in chaos. After 3 minutes had passed, only a mere 10 or so people left. The remaining youths still numbered at over 200 people. Only so few left. Ming Quan was slightly surprised. Only a few of the people standing here today are hoping to catch a lucky break after all. Most of the people have the determination to bet their lives, so how could they possibly withdraw from the test so easily? Duanling Tian saw through things thoroughly, and thus he pinpointed the truth behind the matter. These enemy kingdom soldiers will have martial skills that are far inferior to ours, but they have experienced the battlefield and fought countless battles and consider killing to be a game, so we can't look down on them. Xiao Yu's words were obviously spoken for Ming Quan.
Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe.